All right. What's up, everybody? How you doing out there? Welcome back to the show. This is last week's fight. My name is Thinker St. James, and tonight we are going to be going over each and every fight from UFC 314, Volkanovski versus Lopes, taking a quick look at UFC Fight Night, Garry versus Prates, and taking a quick look at the GFL's downfall for anybody who missed the details there. To do all of that with me, as always, my co-host, my good friend, the Ohio player, the two-time champion of our hearts, Mr. Chase Parton. How you doing, brother?
You know, I'm living it up, especially after a card like that. So going into today, I'm just really excited to talk about everything. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, absolutely. Me too. A lot to talk about from this one for sure. There was a whole lot of conversation surrounding a bunch of these fights, and a whole lot of interesting things happened at the event. So we will get into it here in just a second. If you are new to the show, we're going to be going over each and every one of the fights from UFC 314, Volkanovski versus Lopes. If you want to talk any of that shit in the chat, and it's not about the fight that we're talking about at the moment, throw it in there. Remind us a little bit later in the show. We'll come back to it and address it then. But to get this thing started, UFC 314, Volkanovski versus Lopes took place at the Kaseya Center in Miami, Florida. Chase, initial impressions of this card?
Going into it, I remember thinking last moment, like, gosh, these names really aren't screaming pay-per-view down towards the bottom of it. But
Really?
I mean, the early prelims, but I mean, they are the early prelims for a reason. But once I started watching, I think it took a little minute for me to realize that this was going to be a really crazy night. But I was in for the ride. Let me just say that.
Yeah, no, same. On the watch along, I felt like it was more of a roller coaster than it felt when I was rewatching for the show. Going back and doing the rewatch, I was like, okay, yeah, there were a couple of like selected downtimes. I would say a couple of fights that weren't living up to exactly what I thought they were going to be, but overall pretty consistent, decent event, I would say. I mean, and then of course the main card was actually really good, which often is not the case. A lot of times we're talking about how the prelims are, where it's at, and the main card is just kind of mid, but this was one that sort of did what it was supposed to do. The pay-per-view, you actually got your money's worth out of the pay-per-view portion of this thing.
Yeah, and honestly, once you get to certain names, I've talked about them plenty before, so it doesn't surprise me that they came out here and put on the performances that they did. So I'm really happy to talk about a lot of these people.
Same. Well, let's do just that. Starting this thing off, the first fight of the evening was Nora Cornell versus Haley Cowan. Cornell missed weight by 1.5 pounds. She was the only fighter on this card to miss, and we didn't have any other fights cancel. So that all was a nice element of this as well, except in Nora's case. What do you think of the fight?
Going into the fight, I was taking Nora. I was taking her by decision, to be exact, because I was thinking we were just going back to women not being finishers, and I was wrong to believe that. On the other hand, when Haley walked into the cage and they made the announcement that she is transitioning from gymnastics, did you catch that?
No, yeah, I was going to say, no. Honestly, usually I'm pretty good about picking out those little details. That certainly would have been one that stuck with me. No,
we're going to talk about this.
Yeah, please.
I'm looking for another pretty girl on the card because I'm thinking this is her. Yeah, this has to be first fight of the night. I didn't think it was.
I think this was the only female fight on the card, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, no, you got
Jan and Bjorn.
But anyway, a transition from Jeanette. Anyway, so the fight started. They said that they're like, yeah, she's making a transition, or maybe, they implied it that way, like she had just come from gymnastics, but the way that they told the story is like she grew up doing gymnastics kind of deal.
Sure.
Okay, so when I heard that, I'm like, well, you're not gonna let no gymnastics girl come in here and beat you. Like, come on, come on.
And then she's gonna jump off those two rings that you come down and kick your ass off the rings.
And so like I'm sitting here watching the fight, and the fight goes on, and I'm like, she's doing pretty good. Like she's actually not as bad as you would think somebody who's a fucking gymnastics person, And I thought to myself, I was like, man, like WWE gymnastics is kind of a good transition. Maybe she knows how to take some hits, man. They be falling sometimes. I don't know.
Sure.
And then I will say she looked very impressive. on top of just being not an MMA, like at least they weren't making it seem like she was first MMA in life kind of deal. You know, everybody's not, but
Right.
she was very impressive. She actually got out of a lot of spots that I didn't think she would have. Striking was she had some good little kickboxing kind of deal. She was throwing some good kicks, and then it unfortunately got to the ground, and then she got choked out. She almost got out of it though. You know what the crazy part is you know, being 7-4, this is somebody that I think still has time and room to develop, because if you watch her getting out the choke, she gets the arm down. She just doesn't have the next step, which is when to turn your body. You got to loosen up somehow, you know,
Right.
face inwards, take top control. Like she didn't have that next step, but she almost got there and we were seeing it, but she was about to go out and, you know, whatever. It was actually a great performance up until that, I
Yeah,
thought,
up until it
because
wasn't, right.
up until it wasn't, because Nora on the feet, she came in here into the fucking cage and she was doing all this jumping and yelling and shit. It was kind of annoying me. Like I really didn't want to pick her anymore after seeing shit like that. You're like, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like people are trying to put on, like, you got to get yourself, she's in the opposing territory, you know,
Yeah.
or what the fuck I was doing there. But yeah, no,
Well,
this,
it's
let
also
me let you go. Yeah.
well,
Sorry.
I was just going to say, just to piggyback on your point, it's also annoying when people come out that hype after missing weight, to me anyway. I'm like, look, you know, you might want to be a little bit more humble considering that you're coming in here with an unfair advantage. But yeah, no, I agree with the initial points. Cowan had a good first round. Could have done more with the control on the ground that she had in that round. She had good control, but not enough mixing of the martial arts when it comes to ground strikes and things like that. I'm agreeing with your basic line of thinking here that she's not bad, but she's just not like fully developed yet. You know what I mean? Which is unfortunate considering that she is 7-4 now, which that's starting to get into a tough territory. But I also am a big fan of Sam Hughes, and you know, Sam Hughes's record wasn't great for a while there. She just started picking up a couple wins recently and is starting to get her groove. So maybe Cowan can end up in a situation like that where a little bit of development will get her to where she needs to be. I thought that it was kind of crazy though that Nora couldn't finish the arm bar in the first that she had, because she basically took herself down to get the sequence started. So that was like a nice little one up for Cowan in that regard. She ended up capitalizing on the control there. A little bit of a mistake for Cornell, but then second takedown attempt for Cowan was really sloppy. That let Nora get the control on the ground. She took her back. RNC was pretty easily sunk in after that. Small mistakes in this sport can snowball very, very quickly. And that's kind of what you were seeing there from Cowan. So I don't think that she's necessarily 100% out, but you know, the record is starting to not look great. So she really needs to string some wins together. And that's really all she wrote for this one. Unfortunately for me, since Nora had that nice body shot knockout, it was the body shot, then and then the head kick knockout. I had stupidly, now in hindsight at least, I thought it was a good decision at the time, but I had Nora by knockout or decision. Turns out she goes and gets the sub. I'm like, oh God, I can't win.
I'm glad you brought it up first, because after watching this fight, Nora Cornell is not some threat in the bantamweight division. Now, you go back to her fight with Melissa Mullins, she did finish her, but honestly, body shot, TKO, you know, whatever. You know, it was on the feet too. She got kicked in the face and then the ref jumped in. But the body shot, you know, everybody folds to one of those once in your career. Melissa Mullins, I believe, has a higher ceiling, and she's proven that she's doing more. Bouncing off her loss, she came out and got a really nice TKO finish. Nora Cornell, she was struggling on the feet with a bitch from gymnastics. Like, I don't know. Like, it's crazy.
Well, I mean, she was struggling, I think, is a little bit strong. I mean, she
No, I'm just a hater. You're right.
Yeah,
Like,
I say, well, because honestly, no, the reason I say it though is that I do think that she's somewhat of a threat. Honestly, I think that she's got decent power, and we talk about it all the time. I mean, like, women with legitimate power are the ones that you really want to watch out for, because anybody who is a lady in this sport who has knockout ability automatically is in a different category, in my opinion, when you know, compared to a lot of the women who are very grapple heavy and are always going for submissions. So being able to have the power at all, I think, is something that'll set her apart. She needs to be able to make weight. Obviously, that's going to be something that is now becoming part of the narrative, because I think that this is not the first time that she missed weight. So if that, if that's going to be something going forward that she's got to deal with, then she needs to figure it out and deal with it. But other than that, I mean, I think that she's got pretty decent potential going forward. We got to see what she looks like against some higher level competition. She's been kind of, in that sort of shallower end of the pool so far. But I think that there's something there.
I'm just not seeing it, to be honest. Like,
right.
she looked more impressive earlier in her career, and I feel like she's just looked, less impressive than she did before. And then, maybe she'll look better. I don't know. But again, this is somebody who probably shouldn't have even had a chance. I don't know. That's just my opinion.
Maybe. I mean, we'll see how she looks going forward, and who her next opponent is. She did call out your girl Eileen Perez. What do you think about that?
She loses, like, dude. She gets sat on. She gets sat on and subbed, probably.
All right. Well, you heard it here first. Either way, decent win for Nora after taking a little bit of adversity in that first round. So not a bad fight to start things off. Got to finish in the first fight. That's always nice. And that took us into conceivably, and the second now, and conceivably to me, what could very well be. I mean, I don't know how you saw it, but this to me, aside from some of the stuff on the main card, this was like fight of the night, at least for the prelims. This is Tresean Gore versus Marco Tulio.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's funny to me because I went back and rewatched it yesterday morning with my dad, And as soon as I told him, I was like, dude, they fucked this guy over. Putting him second on the fucking card, and he wasn't on the actual prelims, or he wasn't the opening fight so everybody can say, like, holy shit, did Marco Tulio put on a performance that you probably are never is a strong word, but like, that was fucking impressive for middleweight.
Oh, hell yeah.
The speed, the precision, the power, the endurance was actually crazy. The duration of the flurries, that's a great way to say it. They were just so crazy. There were times where he was popping them up, and then he'd step back, and then he goes right back into it. Or he does, even at the end sequence, he'll set something up that is like probably not even going to fucking work, but it gets him close enough where he can end the fucking fight. This was a brutal fucking beatdown. To be honest, I will get, and I know I sometimes do this, and this is probably every casual fan. Like, they love to see the dude who gets beat up a lot, like throughout the fight. Like, we're just like, man, I really have a heart for him now. Like, Tresean Gore really did take an ass beating, and he did do it very, very long, probably long enough than he should have.
For sure.
So that was one thing I will note. Did I think a dude who is known for getting subs would be out here on the feet and win? No. But did I think he would get his ass beat that long? No. So he's kind of winning me over in some aspects, but I definitely did not think he was going to win this fight. Marco Tulio finish was on my board, but what I know now going forward, he does not try for submissions one fucking bit. Nope. He actually had a great back. Like, okay, he knocked him down, and then he got him in a front headlock, and then he transitioned to his back. He dropped some strikes and then stood up. And he just did, like, his neck was probably there if he would have went for it. And I don't blame him. Like, if this is your game plan and you can do it like this, I mean, we talk about Shara. I mean, guys, this is one of the dudes to be fucking weary of. Oh my God.
Brother, this Tulio is something else, dude. Seriously. This is one of those ones that, at least as of right now, and of course, everything can change with one fight, but as far as right now goes after this fight, like, it's nice to me to see somebody who I had that feeling about being a killer like this actually being that level of a killer, because his striking is something else. I mean, heavy leg kicks, mixes up the targets extremely nicely, and accuracy. Good Lord. This dude is super sharp in like all of the striking categories as far as I'm concerned. And take it back one step. I didn't mention this at the start of it, but Tulio, just to get to this event, had to go through hell. Tulio and Norma Dumont nearly got robbed on their way to the airport in Brazil. Then Tulio gets in a car crash in Miami after he touches down in the States. So amazing that he was able to crush this fight so well, being that he went through such crazy shit. But This dude is a gangster, and he won't be stopped by anything, be it in the cage or a fucking car or a dude with a gun, what the fuck ever. He is out there to wreck shop, and it really showed, man. I loved the step in forearms and elbows that Tulio goes for. He uses them to set up combos, which is such a great strategy with the type of striking that he has, and those combos last for days, like you said. I mean, this dude is just really, really on point with the way that he throws his hands. Now, both of them got rocked in the first round. So, I mean, Gore was throwing, but it was nowhere near as much output as Tulio early on. And you hear me often talk about how I really appreciate guys who are quick to start, that are off the bat hungry for the win. They're looking for the win early. Of course, you got to worry about your gas tank, but if you're going out there with urgency from the start of the fight, good things can happen. Great example of it in this fight.
I think you brought up a great point first. I think it's really funny how telephone is played in the UFC, because the story that I took away from it is that he was robbed on the way to the event with Nora Cornell. I don't know how that was the story I got here.
No, yeah, okay. There was definitely some crossed wires there. Yeah, no, him and Norma Dumont were in an Uber in Brazil and got robbed, or attempted robbery at least. The motherfucker picked the wrong Uber to try to hold up, but apparently the window got smashed and everything. And then there was an additional car crash in Miami for Tulio specifically. I don't know where Dumont ended up going to.
Second thing I want to know, and I didn't really notice until I was just sitting here thinking about it, is like, this is the first fight where you get blatant fucking hating from the commentary. The whole fight, and it's only 2 rounds. They started this shit in like the first minute. They're like, man, Tulio can't keep this up for too long, man. He's getting tired already. Look at him. He's looking sluggish.
Right.
And they won't fucking stop talking about Tresean Gore. They're like, man, this kid could take a beating, guys. Man, he could take a beating. Oh my goodness, man. He's such a dog, man. He's such a killer. It's like, guys, he's getting beat up. I mean,
oh yeah.
I know
well, we'll talk about commentary glaze in a fight coming up here in a minute too, because there was definitely some questionable commentary going on throughout some of this event. But yeah, that was pretty funny. You're not wrong. I mean, but they're not wrong either to an extent. I mean, it is amazing that Tulio is able to keep the cardio up that he has at middleweight, doing what he's doing, because he really is throwing the kitchen sink out there early on in the fight, which I appreciate. And like I said, you got to be careful of your gas tank, but it can lead to great things. Speaking of throwing the kitchen sink out there, that wheel kick that landed towards the end of round 1, this dude was on fire, man. I mean, like, it didn't land flush, but the fact that he threw it and it did connect was pretty crazy after everything else that he that he had done. You know, I mean, like, he had done so much going into that, and then he just tosses this spinning wheel kick out there, and it connected. I'm like, this dude can do no wrong right now.
Yeah, he loved the spin kicks. He loved them to the body for sure, and then that spin kick at the end of the round was nice. But I wish he was able to get the heel of it. He only got the
right,
the little fat of the foot. But what I also noticed was a great thing is, while he's also he's doing these long combinations, and he's also mixing up the combinations. He's also throwing in the wheel kicks to the body. He threw it into the head at the end. When you go into the second round, then he throws the spinning back fist. He's just layers on layers on layers when it comes to the striking, and he's always they said it on commentary. I think it was a good point. They said all the touch points he's hitting or something like that. And I was like, that's a good way to say it. Like, he is just like, he's hitting all the touch points. Like, that's what he's cooking. He's getting the thighs, the calves, the outside, the inside, anything, body, head. Like, he was just mixing up everything. Uppercuts, body hooks. So like, he was taking short jabs, he was taking far, like, everything that you could possibly mix in, with distance, with speed, with precision, with feinting. Like, he just had everything in the bag right here. And I wanted to also point out 2 fights in the UFC, and this is one of the favorites right now. So this is how quickly you can become somebody good. And he was already somebody to look out for, but like, this is the performance where you're like, okay, on the feet, you do not want to mess with him. Now let's see a wrestler get up. I know it's too early to be like that, but like, he's already somebody that you need to see a wrestler against, because
For
We're gonna
sure.
see.
Yeah, absolutely. Most definitely. I mean, yeah, like you said, checking all the boxes with the striking. The wrestling is going to be the big equalizer right now to see how he can handle that. But just to finish it out, it was a head kick that started the finishing sequence. Gore ends up getting battered, but he is a tough motherfucker. Like you said, I think that his stock probably rose with a good amount of people as well with this fight, just for the amount of punishment he had to take. And it's unfortunate because I don't dislike Trayshawn Gore. I think he's a good, like, genuine guy, but it's just when it comes to the levels of this sport, he's one of those dudes that's just, he's right on the cusp of that middle, and I don't think that he's just there yet. But occasionally he'll be able to take a guy who's nowhere near the middle and finish them. So he needs to be able to kind of like get over the hump, but not in this fight. Tulio with that long range step in kick and then straight right. It was straight right that put Gore away, basically. And yeah, man, it was just really, really nice to see all the way through because of how good the striking was leading up to the finish. It was nice to see him get the finish and now essentially put middleweight on notice as far as I'm concerned, dude. I mean, like you said, we're going to have to see how the wrestling is. That's going to be a very big circumstance here that could change how we look at Tulio. But as of right now, if you are standing in front of this man, you better be goddamn worried.
I actually think it's funny to note, now that I actually look at it, most of the finishes on this card have some weird ref fucking reasoning. Like this one was a really kind of late stoppage. Like he was getting beat up. Even my dad was saying, like, yo, he's done, guys. Like you can stop it at any time. Like he's getting battered. Probably could have even had an early stoppage that people would have complained about after the first drop. But then we let it go on and we saw what happens when you don't let the fight get stopped, kind of deal. And then we still think it was that. And then you go on to some other ones and the ref is stepping in early. That actually questionable one. Then you have another one where the ref just won't step in at all. Like, it's just something going on with this card. I don't know.
Yeah. No, Anik had said that on commentary. He's like, there's a big discrepancy as to how Kerry Hatley is going to finish, let the fight finish versus how the other that the other one of the other refs would do it. So there was a little bit of questionable stuff. We'll get into all of that on the fights, but appreciate all the Tulio love going on in the chat.
No, it's not even the Tulio love that's going on. Shout out to Ramon, who's bringing up my boy Eddie Guerrero. Is this who you think Marco Tulio looks like? Because if it is, we will root for him any day now.
He has said that many times. Yes. Shout out to the Vitz King. He's been comparing Tulio to Eddie Guerrero on the watch longs for actually since the Contender Series.
I'm very thank you. Now I have a new passion. So,
but I'm seeing this also from Big Onk over here, and I agree entirely that Tulio is a danger to the entire middleweight division. We're gonna really have to see how he ends up progressing on through, because this is now 3 fights in a row, 3 finishes in a row. I mean, if you count the Contender Series.
True.
So, yeah, this dude is a problem. Keep your eyes out. Remember the name for sure. And as far as Trayshawn Gore is concerned, back to the drawing board, but he needs to start improving like immediately now, because he's been around for a while. He's been around since The Ultimate Fighter, I think 2 years ago now. And he's had a number of fights and he's done decently. He has those the guillotine finishes, and those are impressive. But if this is what's going to happen when it stays on the feet, then you got to, you really got to start making those improvements sooner than later, because your time's going to get passed,
Yeah, I mean, I would say it already is, to be honest. It was probably past before it even started. Like, I don't think this is some dude that's going to live up to more than beating Antonio Tricoli, So
it could be. Yeah. And I hate to think that that's the case, but if not now, then you need to make these adjustments immediately, or that is going to be the end result.
It's unfortunate because not everybody's in the situation as Trayshawn, where they get into the big leagues at such a low record and then they get injured and then they come back and then they, whatever the case may be.
Right.
But in his situation, yeah, he's got to go. Like he can't spare the moments, because if he doesn't have a good camp next time and figure out the right game plan, dude, you're 6-4. I mean, that's a 2-fight win streak. They don't really have much reason.
Yeah, exactly. It's very true. And he's lucky really to even be in the organization. He didn't win the Ultimate Fighter. You know what I mean? Like, so it's one of those situations where he's just one of the guys that was on the show, ended up getting a shot anyway.
Cool.
So yeah, now or never. And again, I want to stress to any fighters out there who may be listening, this is a great example of start quickly. Get off of those blocks and go out there to win a fight, because this is what can happen. You know, a good early a percentage of this fight, if you're spending that time feeling out and having this, like, you know, distance checking and this, you know, the circling dance and all this kind of stuff, you're allowing your opponent to get the same amount of information. If you overwhelm him a little bit, better things can happen for you if he's caught off guard early in the fight. So get out the gate swinging.
Hell yeah.
All right, moving on to one of the more controversial fights, I would say, on this card. I mean, it was maybe not so much after the rewatch, but in the moment, it felt like it. It's Sumidarji versus Mitch Raposo. Now, the story of this fight is definitely Raposo taking down Sumidarji and Sumidarji getting back up. No dispute there. Right? Well, I'm seeing your face here.
100% dispute there. What are you talking about? The story of the fight is Mitch Raposo doesn't want to fight this dude.
Okay, we're seeing two different things here.
He landed 13 strikes and threw 30.
I mean, he was doing a lot of work with the takedowns, though. He just wasn't able to corral him.
It wasn't work with the takedowns, though. Like, okay, so he's taking him down, arguably not enough. He got 19 attempts and got him 6. And did nada with the striking. Didn't even attempt to grapple to, like, get his neck. Didn't attempt to get the hooks in. Let him up every single time by doing the same wrist lock around the back of his head. And he's not tall enough to stand with him, so he's got him on his knees, and then he's got the headlock. And then Sumidarji stands up, and then he's like, oh, I got nothing. Every single time he'd take him down, sweep the legs. Sumidarji gets to a knee and is building his base. He's got the fucking headlock, and he does nothing with it. I was waiting for him to jump the neck, where, you know, get the hooks in early, you know, get the what's the Khabib move, you know, where he wraps the leg, you know, do something that shows your wrestling is, like, on par with the era we're in right now. But there was nothing that showed me more than he can maybe shoot a takedown. Can he get it accurately and efficiently? No. Can he do it and get anything worth damage or to the scoring system? No. Does he even want to fight on the feet? No. He ran the entire fucking time. It was actually embarrassing. Sumidarji is like, dude, it was so bad. And I get Sumidarji is, like, fucking huge. Like, he's listed at 5'8" or something. He's like 6'1", the bare minimum. But Mitch Raposo, the reason I remember your name, it has to be because you are not good. I'm sorry to say that, but, like, we knew your name for a reason. No way did you put on a performance like this, and we thought that this was a name to remember. I just can't believe it.
I think that the numbers are skewing your perception of this fight a little bit, because I thought that Sumidarji did it. So early on in the fight, Sumidarji did attack the lead leg a good amount. So I think a good amount of those significant strikes are coming off of leg kicks. But he looked hesitant to engage in any real firefighting himself. He pointed a few times, but missed a bunch too. He was hitting air a good amount of times as well. The second round, DC is saying, oh, Sumidarji is winning in the striking department. I'm like, yeah, barely, though. Barely. So I had this thing going 1-1 into the third round, man. I mean, on the rewatch, this is off of the rewatch too. I can understand the decision, but I didn't necessarily agree with it, and I'll tell you why. Mitch didn't do anything with the takedowns. Yes, I'm 100% on board with that. Sumidarji landed a couple of nice inside shots, mostly elbows in the clinch, so I'll give that to him. You know, this is why I'm understanding the decision. But I think my issue with it is that Sumidarji wasn't initiating a lot of the offense. Most of it was reacting to what Raposo was doing, and we're not talking about counter striking here. We're talking about the finding, like, pitter-patter shots when there's openings to do so. He wasn't going after it. Mitch was actually trying to win. Sumidarji was playing the hand he was dealt.
That's one of the crazy. You watched this twice, you said.
Yeah,
man.
On
the live stream, and you rewatched this. If that's your conclusion, I'm not going to sit here and argue with you, because that's what you've come to. But I will not say that Mitch Raposo was trying to win this fight.
He was initiating. Look how many takedown attempts he had.
That's because he didn't
19.
want to stand and strike with him. It's because he didn't want, because the entire first round, he did the evading bullshit that we always hate about people. And then sometimes there's fighters who will sit down and actually correct, like they'll draw them in and they'll stand down and they'll throw that big shot. There was none of that. Mitch Raposo never set up a jab. He never stopped moving side to side. Sumerdagi couldn't set up the offense because, yeah, he didn't corner him in the cage, but like at some point, you would hope your opponent stops running. So all he had for him was shooting takedowns that he did nothing with. The person that was able to defend the takedowns and get up and get it back to the striking where he can thrive, he wasn't able to thrive because he has somebody running. Like it was so clear coat bad. But anyway, the only thing that I want to say, if that's going to be the conclusion, I'll let you actually have your piece if you want to have another
Well, I mean, that's pretty much it. I mean, I'm not mad at the decision. I'm just saying that I can see it from the other side, and the crowd was feeling the same way. I mean, the crowd was not on board with it.
I don't, it's the fact that I don't even care how it was scored because there was not much that, like, it was so easy in Sumerdagi's opinion, like in his favor, in my opinion. But the only thing that I will know, we're going to disagree on this one, and that's fine because we'll remember this at least. That's the main thing that we just anyway. These are not Sumerdagi. I'm not going to actually say anything about because I think he, in the right situation, he's ready to dance. Like he was ready to throw down. Mitch Raposo, on the other hand, for a flyweight, he ain't cutting it. This ain't it. I mean, I hate to break it to you.
Well,
but
I would agree with that. Yeah, that's I can definitely agree with. I mean, the flyweight division, we talk about it time and time again on this show. It's the most competitive division in this sport, in my opinion. I think that there's no higher level of competition than flyweight. The skill level is there. You got some guys who have knockout power at flyweight. That's insane for the size that these guys are. So you have the power plus the speed of flyweights. Yeah, Raposo is going to get lapped by the middle of the division. So I will agree with that. Sumerdagi, I'm not sold on it. I think that the striking glaze on commentary was ridiculous. This is one where I think there was a way overemphasis because if you go back and watch the amount of striking that he actually landed, again, this is, I think, is statflation over here with these numbers that we're looking at. But the way that they were talking about it on commentary, it's like, yeah, he did do a little bit better in the striking overall because Raposo was not as active with the striking. But I think that if it evens out with the amount of takedowns that he was getting. I mean, he was successful in 6 of the 19. And the other ones were situations where it's like, if he got a half of a takedown, yeah, he didn't do enough with it. I'm 100% on board with that aspect of it. But my feeling on this is that if you're going out there and you're actively trying to do these things, then you're in the driver's seat. Like Sumerdagi needs to swing the offense in his favor and make it convincing. I didn't feel like he did a good enough job of doing that. So I'm not mad at this decision. I'm just saying that's how I look at it.
I would like to also combat that you said I'm being swayed by the numbers here. I would like to point out that before I saw that he landed 13 strikes, genuinely, I would have thought it was 4. This was one of the most passive, like for a mixed martial arts bout. Okay, if MMA started in a wrestling position, okay, maybe I would understand why we take wrestling into consideration more. But like this is at heart, it's more about the strikes landed. It's not about you gripping him and holding his ass against the cage because evidently you couldn't do it well enough to stop him from getting up every time. And you didn't even control him from that. Like, look, 4 minutes and you got him down. You had 19 attempts and you got 4 minutes of control time. Like, Jesus fucking Christ. I don't know. Mitch Raposo, dude. I just, that one's hard for me to watch. I would not sit through that again. That's the problem with this fight. And I think it lies more on Mitch Raposo. He proved that he's not willing to entertain the fans. And that's, hey, you're in business to do that. We're here to watch some entertainment. You're here to put on a mixed martial arts bout that will bring us entertainment. You didn't put that on for me. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I'll definitely agree with that too. I mean, I think that was kind of from both sides though. Like I wasn't super impressed with the amount of output from Sumerdagi in general. And I understand it takes 2 to tango with all of that. It wasn't a great fight to begin with. I mean, like that is kind of the baseline of this thing. So yeah, no, I'm with all of that. And I'm also, I'm in agreement though that Raposo needs a massive amount of improvement if he's going to at all try to hang with the flyweights. I don't see it either, but again, I don't really see it from either side of this equation. So, kind of a wash as far as entertainment value on this fight in general. This was definitely one of the lower points of the card.
I'm sorry for you. Like you watched this twice.
Hey, it's what we do for this sport, man. It was a pleasure to be able to do that so that I could talk about it accurately here.
True. There's people who can't even watch it once.
Exactly right. Think about all of those starving children who don't get to to watch it even once.
True.
But yeah, the only other note that I had was that in the post-fight interview in the octagon, Sumidarji had a cool little scarf and he had a pouch necklace, and I was wondering what he keeps in that little pouch.
Shit.
I don't know.
I mean, I don't know either. It's probably something wicked though.
Yeah, is pocket sand. Yeah.
Pouch,
I don't know.
neck pouch sand.
Right, exactly. Anyway, all right, let's move on from this fight already. Let's talk about one of the weirder fights on this card. This was Cedrikas Dumas versus Mikhail Olashechek. One thing to note going into this was when I heard that Mikhail Olashechek was only 30 years old, I was surprised, since I feel like he's been around forever, and I would have put him at around 76 years of age.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know. He just seems like one of those dudes that has an old face to me.
I don't know. Okay, interesting. He kind of looks young to me. I don't know. He looks like a young guy. Anyway, I also wish, and I'm going to state this off rip because it is something that I wish I would have known going forward. So you're going to know. Mikhail
Olashechuk.
Olashechuk. He is a fighting nerd, everybody. I wish we would have known this before the fight.
Now, apparently, he made the smart choice to go over there and start training with Kaio. I mean, yeah, what an improvement that makes to anybody's game, right?
Yeah. And I'm not going to say that would have swayed me, but that is funny to note that they're just like, yeah, fuck it, we'll just take the Polish guy. Like, I don't care. Like, and then he just turns into obviously God. But anyway, going into this fight, Cedrikas Dumas was kind of a lock for me. I don't know why I felt so confident that he would be able to do it, but Olashechuk was not the guy that I was going to put money on, unfortunately, especially at minus money, so Cedrikas was kind of my dark horse for this one, and the fact this went down like it did was absolutely ridiculous. I want to note one other thing.
Sure.
And I've said it to you 3 different times now, so you're going to hear it in my voice, but DraftKings will get a shout out from me. If you want to sponsor, let us know. But they had a fun fact page on the stats of every fight going down. And there was a stat, and it had a tag next to it for round 1 finish that you can click because what the fuck is
Mikhail?
Anyway, he's finished in the first round all of his orthodox opponents when he was the favorite. And I read that, took a screenshot, and sent it to everybody. Like, wow, look how interesting this is. Like, look how in depth they're reaching for this fucking analysis, whatever you want to say. Damn. And then the fact that it fucking happened again for him was pretty insane. Like, maybe he just is that guy against the orthodox fighters when he's the fucking favorite. Like, I don't know. That's crazy to me that they found that exact stat like that and it played out to a T. Like, oh, it was just crazy.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to highlight this from the homie Beeb. Shout out to Beeb. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. Appreciate all of you guys. But Beeb saying, extremely disappointed with Cedrikas Dumas. I wanted to highlight this because this is the story of the fight as far as I'm concerned. I mean, Dumas, like, we've seen him so much better than this. Like, so much better. Like, stars and bars better before we have seen performances out of Cedrikas Dumas. And DC was exactly right about Dumas on the commentary, saying that he's dipping his head recklessly. That was something that I had noticed too. I was like, you see how he's like exaggerating the motions. Like, it's not even just like getting out of the way. It's like a full body thrust into the evasion maneuver. And it was like, this ain't it, man. I mean, I don't know why, like, he was that apprehensive. I mean, we've seen Mikhail Olashechek get finished a number of times at this point. I didn't consider him to be somebody that would be that, like, imposing against a guy like Cedrikas, who is not bad. We know that we've seen better out of him, but he just looked off this entire fight. It didn't seem like he wanted to be there. It just like, I mean, the fact that he went down off of a shot, quote unquote, if you can even call it that, it was a forearm strike. If you look at the replay, they showed the slow motion. Mikhail's doing the overhand swing, and it was the bicep that ended up hitting Cedricus. So like, forearm or the elbow area, whatever, like wherever in that range. But it wasn't the fist, is my point. So I mean, like, I had said on the watch along, and I'm not actually saying that this is the truth, but I was like, if there was ever a person who was like taking a dive, like that looks like it could be a convincing way to do it, or not convincing way to do it. Like, looked like you took the wrong shot to go down off the dive with, if that's the case, because like, I mean, he just looked so bad out there, and it was like bizarre to me. It was just kind of a strange performance. I wasn't expecting it.
Yeah, that's weird that you bring up him taking a dive. I'm not gonna lie.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think he was. I'm just saying that if, like,
listen, I don't put it past him. Shit, if you don't want to own on it, shit, I will. Listen, when he went down, it was pretty funny because all he did was curl up in a ball, and then he went to arguing with the ref. I mean,
bro,
if you are to take a shot and you're on the ground and you just cover up, I mean, they'll stop it eventually. If you are to take a quote unquote dive and you miss the moment, hey, shit, there was their moment. You just argue with the ref after. Fuck it. Dude, come on, what are you doing? I was good. I was there. Come on.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Trying to make a case, trying to make something out of nothing. It was a fine stoppage. Dumas was doing 0 to get back into the fight after doing really almost 0 in the fight itself. So I just, this was like the most disappointing performance on here. And I mean, we'll talk about the next fight coming up here, which was an unfortunate performance, I would say. But like, at least that was something that was like, could have been anticipated. You know what I mean? It was like, okay, where that fighter, we talk about Darren Elkins in this circumstance. Like, Darren Elkins has been through everything in this sport. It's like time comes for all of us, unless you're Volkanovski, apparently. But it's somewhat expected for a guy like Darren Elkins. Cedricus Dumas, this was a very disappointing display.
100%. Yeah.
And being the only fighter from Florida on the Florida card, by the way.
Wow. Yeah. I didn't even notice that. That's crazy.
Yeah. So not a great look for the Sunshine State down here. But either way, I mean, that's all I got for this fight. You got anything else?
No, not really. I mean, I think it was just funny to see him put on the nerd glasses, and it was just like, wow, they're really just so accepting of everybody, like just as I expected them to be.
And what an instant level up that has become. Because I mean, like Olszewski, I believe, was on like a 2-fight losing streak.
3.
I want to say a 3 before that. So,
I think
so there you go. So I mean, you start training with the nerds, instant career turnaround.
True. I mean, everybody's doing good there, and we'll talk about it, of course.
Oh, certainly we will. But before we do that, let's talk about Darren Elkins versus Julian Erosa, Juicy J. This was hard to watch. This was a hard one.
I want to start by saying, as soon as the fight, and I did listen in the rewatch, I remember, like, when I watched it the first time, I said something doesn't look right. And I don't know, maybe this is Darren Elkins' normal pre-game little routine, whatever you want to say. But like, when I was watching him warm up, he's got his hands, and he's trying to tell himself, like, okay, this has got to go here. If not, we're fucked. And then in the fight, he just takes damage to his face, like, without caution to the wind. And that's obviously something that he probably would do. But then when they're back to the feet after it's been a real sloppy round where he's falling on his face trying to get up, and he's like wobbling around, he's like here, and then he's like trying to like do that. He's trying to get his head now, but he's still trying to get down here. And it's like, I don't know. In my opinion, the fight started, and I clearly went, is he hurt? Like, is something wrong with him? Because he's trying to make sure he blocks that kind of torso area. And I could be wrong. And this was maybe the normality of this dude. But man, it looked like, if I say this so many times, and I find it so many funny that it actually is so true, but like, he looked like he was fighting underwater. This was so hard for him to punch. He couldn't throw any power. Again, the injury, as I think I'm gonna give it to him, because like, when you watch it, he's just not able to give it 100%, and he's real slow. Like, he'll show it, and then he'll sway through. It's like he gets his body ready, and then he's like, okay, let's go. And then, like, I don't know. It looked like a very painful performance from him.
Yeah, so I mean, you're speculating that he had some kind of like upper body
100%.
injury going on.
Yeah,
okay.
This was nothing. Yeah.
Right. I mean, it very well could be. I don't think that there was any information that came out before the fight to indicate that, but obviously they're not going to relay that information. I guess somebody will have to keep an eye on social media to see if something comes out after the fact about it. But
This is the
either
dude that
way,
probably wouldn't say something about
oh
that,
no,
though.
yeah. Well, and that's what I was saying on the watch along is I'm like, throughout I felt terrible. It's kind of funny going back and watching the watch along at that moment because I'm like, don't worry, folks. This is just how Darren Elkins fights. You know what I mean? But then it like got to the point where it's like, okay, no, this is actually bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, I mean, this fight was hard to watch as a big Darren Elkins fan. I've said it a couple of times, but if you see the Yama logo, the unknown fighter, the bloodied fighter, that is Darren Elkins back there, and that shot was taken here in Central Florida at the Orlando card, which was one of his great performances. Where it was a quintessential performance back then for Elkins. He gets very bloodied in these fights. He goes through a lot. He's nicknamed the Damage for a reason. He goes through hell, can pull out a victory often. That's why you love a guy like that. He's an old school fighter in that way. This performance was hard to watch because it wasn't that. It was just a really, I mean, it wasn't completely one-sided. He was able to get Erosa down pretty easily, but it also looked like Erosa was kind of trying to go down. Like, I think Erosa is just really, really comfortable off of his back. So, I mean, one takedown maybe was like an actual full-on takedown, but there was definitely a time, I think commentary even speculated on that like Erosa was like, yeah, I can go down and maneuver. I'll be okay. So, but aside from that, it was really Julian's show. And I mean, the thing that hurt me the most was that Elkins gets bopped with a patty cake shot, the first shot of
It
the
doesn't
fight.
even land. It doesn't even land. It literally hits his hair and he just falls back. Like,
He
it's
just
crazy.
slipped and fell on his ass off of that. It was terrible to see. Darren gets an easy single leg to get Erosa to the ground, which was where he really wanted to be. But Erosa, he's a pro. I mean, Erosa's really is. I mean, if Erosa had a better chin, man, this guy could be a really, really big problem. But on his back, he's very comfortable. He's good with elbows from his back. And then, of course, what really changed the course of this fight completely, aside from potential injury or whatever, was the up kick. Two of them, actually, two up kicks from Erosa off of his back. One of them landed really flush, and that was the beginning of the end for Elkins. He looked so bad after the up kick, broke my heart. He was sleepwalking out there.
You know what's actually interesting about the upkicks? I rewatched it, yesterday,
Mm-hmm.
and going back to my injury speculation.
Yeah.
I think the most damaging upkick, it landed like to his shoulder, in my opinion. Like, if I don't think maybe one first, but the one that he ate was probably to his face, and then he got hit in like the shoulder, and then that's when he started like wobbling around. Speculation is
No. Well, no, because what it was the shoulder one was first, and then the full flush face one was the second one.
Okay.
So,
okay.
but you're right. The one did land on because he was doing that like chopping motion with his
Yeah.
foot. So like which is. I mean, dude, we've seen people get knocked out with up kicks before too. So you got to be really, really aware that that's something that's a potential hazard. I mean, the up kicks are no joke.
I didn't catch this at the time, but I want to share it with you because it is so funny. So shout out to the base goddess because she shared a meme because the ref, when he stopped this fight, he was signaling to Darren Elkins that he stopped it via hammer fist. And what he signaled, and to the meme's credit, he said via jerking it. That's exactly
that wasn't this fight. That was the Woodson and Ige fight.
Well, we'll bring it up later again. Don't worry. Right?
But that was a funny moment. That was definitely one of the memes from this card for sure. But I mean, Erosa after the up kicks. I mean, really, again, the dude is a pro. I really like Julian Erosa. I think that it's just his chin is his biggest enemy. Like he's a dude who is really well-rounded and very like accurate with what he does when he's able to do it, but he's just a little bit chinny, and that's kind of an unfortunate aspect of reality for him. But after the up kicks, he just stayed really calm, cool, and collected, landed a nice knee. Then the hammer fist to the side of the head finally brings this to a merciful end, I would say, because Elkins was just so out of this thing for so much of the fight that, like I said, it was kind of hard for me to watch in that regard.
Yeah, this is not a fight that I would just praise Juicy J for. Honestly, I'm not big on him, never been sold. I originally thought that he was going to get the sub on Darren Elkins. I unfortunately changed my pick to Elkins after I heard Minty Bets had the parlay on him. So it is my fault, but Juicy J's not really got a bright future in my opinion.
I mean, fair. You know,
I mean,
he's
he's. I mean, look at his record. You know, like
31-12. Yeah, you know, yeah. I think he's kind of going to be a middling guy, but I think he's a pretty decent middling guy in my opinion. And also, Minty Betts went 0 for 3 on her picks for this card, so maybe Minty not the best person to listen to, even though she's nice to look at.
it was pretty insane because we were talking about how she's probably one of the better betting analysts at ESPN right now, and damn it, did Gianni prove me wrong?
Every once in a while, you know, the broken clock is correct for sure.
True.
Shout out to Vinny Philly. What's up, brother?
And
Uh,
yeah, he subbed C-Rod, but like, dude, C-Rod tapped like chicken, so I don't really care too much.
Yeah, he's good with his submission game. I mean, again, this is the thing about Julian Erosa. Like he's I don't know. I guess I'm a little bit higher on him than you are, but I don't think he's a you know a bad fighter. I think he's a pretty solid, well-rounded fighter. But again, I just think that he's a little bit chinny and can that can ultimately be his downfall because he does go down pretty easily.
True. I hear you.
But no one went down easier than Darren Elkins in this fight, sadly. And like I said, heartbreaking to see, but shout out to Julian Rosa getting the job done there against the veteran Darren Elkins. And speaking of veterans over here, unfortunate night for Jim Miller versus Mr. Chase Hooper. What'd you think of this fight?
A lot of people were betting on Chase Hooper finish, and I thought that was literally ridiculous. Like, this is the dude who has the most fights in the UFC. Oh, and also doesn't really get finished that often. At least,
Right.
like the Iron Man, if you've ever had one type of deal.
Hell yeah.
Especially in a sport of Iron Men, Chase Hooper, very good grappling once again. The striking at first, I think I was getting commentary glaze because now that I'm thinking about it, nothing really impressed me too much. Like, if the striking really was next level, like, dude, Jim Miller is like on the feet is not really like he's just the basic archetype of dude that can do anything.
Mm-hmm.
If you're leveled up on the feet, you got this height advantage. You should be able to keep the range. And I know grappling's your thing, but we know you can grapple, and you should know that you probably weren't going to submit Jim Miller. And I know that's on the resume, submitting Jim Miller would be like amazing, but the crotch ripper was just probably not the move. Just saying.
Yeah, well, I mean, I thought that this was a really high-level grappling match in that regard with some of the positions that they ended up getting into. But I do agree. I think that because we talked about Chase Hooper striking on the previous episode, and they were saying that it had leveled up, and I'm sure that it has over time. I mean, like, if you go back to his early fights when he was, a scrawny child in this sport, really. I mean, this kid has been around for a good amount of years, but started very, very young and is still very, very young. So it has leveled up a little bit, but there is still something to be desired there, I would say. And I thought that Jim navigated this fight nicely in the early stages of it. Chase had to jump through some hoops to get out of danger, no pun intended there. When Chase was on the offense, the subs were nice, or the sub attempts rather were nice, but Jim didn't give up enough space for them to work. So solid round for both in the first round there, but the wrestling was wearing on Jim Miller by the midway point of the second round. You could definitely see it. He was breathing heavy. The age, or if you want to say it's the age, could just be the amount of activity that it was. But either way, Chase is one of those guys that is a relentless wrestler. He's very good with chain wrestling. So it's like he gets a hold of you and it's just position. And I mean, you're talking about the crotch ripper, but I mean, it was really the calf slicer attempt that was getting them into those awkward situations. And Jim defended it pretty decently, but it wasn't a bad maneuver on Chase's part because it could have very well been an ending sequence had he gotten his other hand free. Like, so, Jim with the defense, it took a lot of effort to be able to defend that correctly. So, it like looked good to the judges because it was a submission attempt, but it was kind of like half and half in my opinion, because like it was well defended as well. So, it was a really I like this fight a lot, actually. I thought that this was a really nice display of some high level grappling.
I just think, yeah, Chase Hooper's young, and yeah, we're still watching him develop, but I think we got to start getting more critical on him. I know he moved up to a new division, and he's been doing well ever since he's been there. He's on one of the longer streaks in the division, but with what I believe is to be desired is something that the other people in the division are able to capitalize on very easily. I mean, the fight starts on the ground, or not on the ground, but on the feet. And Chase is elite when it gets to the ground. I mean, what I think is interesting about him and it makes him so unique, I don't know if you notice, he's able to use his feet in the grappling a lot. He's able to jump in there and get hooks in from really unique angles. His feet are very flexible, the way that they can bend a little more backwards than a lot of people would. And he's got these long legs, and his frame is good for lightweight. If I don't listen, I know we talked about it this last fight, but it seems as if his physical features have just been regressing. I don't know it's like he's going back into his featherweight form. That's just my opinion.
It must have been all the gooning.
I know he did say that the gooning was the problem, but I don't know, man. You would think that would bring out the Chad in you.
I don't know. I just thought it was very funny that Joe Rogan had no idea what he was talking about when he said that. He just let that pass. But Chase, stop gooning out there. Just general point. Yeah, no, I mean, look, it was kind of the fight was, I would say, kind of samey towards the end of it. It was basically a rinse and repeat of round 3 as round 2 was. But I don't know. I mean, when it comes to the physical attributes, maybe. I mean, I don't know. He's maybe not a little bit as bulky as in other fights, perhaps. But either way, I mean, I think that he's been doing pretty decent things, as Anakin mentions in the chat. He's on a 5-fight win streak now. I think that things are going pretty well for him. I thought it was a good thing to say that he wants to, start fighting guys closer to his own age, after taking on a couple of the older guys. Now that'll really give him an opportunity to shine over a multitude of types of opponents. So we'll see what continues on for him. As of right now, I think he's doing pretty okay. Striking could probably improve just a little bit, but I was okay with it.
Yeah, I mean, and it's unfortunately one of those performances that you're only going to remember, oh, well, he tried to do the crotch ripper, ha, 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 something like that. Because, other than that, there's a reason Bobby Green was on 300 with Jim Miller's, because they put on a fucking performance of a lifetime type of deal. Like, Chase Hooper just put on another run-of-the-mill performance. I wish I had, and I'm not to say this in a bad way to Chase Hooper, because, again, you're going to get better. I like the team that's around him because they clearly know what's going good for him. But I still think, the performance like this, after performances that we've just seen you have, this one was supposed to be a level on top of that. You were supposed to finish Jim Miller, dude. But it's okay.
Yeah, well, I think that you make a good point that it's this is around the time that we should be critical of him. I mean, he's 16-3 now. The dude has a good amount of experience under his belt, even at a young age. He's only 25, but still, I mean, that's a lot of experience. That's a lot of miles in the cage now. It is time to continue leveling up to where you eventually want to be, if that's the goal, to rise through the sport. So, I think that the critical aspects that we're looking for are going to show themselves against some of these younger guys when he starts fighting them, if that's what they end up doing. And I think that will make a lot of sense going forward. It's if he can do this against these older guys, then the younger guys should fall in line too, or he's going to have to rise to the occasion, and we'll see what that looks like.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. Well, moving on to this one. This was a disappointing fight to me. This was Yan Xiaonan versus Virna Jandiroba. I did not ever say coming into this fight that Virna Jandiroba was not a beast. I want that to be very, very clear out the gate, okay? Because I'm a fan of Virna Jandiroba. I think that she is extremely good at what she does. But in this instance, I really think that, to me, the story of the fight personally was that I got let down by Yan Xiaonan.
So you are taking the side of the people who thought Yan Xiaonan was going to win this fight, yes?
Yeah. I thought that and I'll tell you what in hindsight I think was the issue here is that I should not have put in as much emphasis as I did put on her last performance against Tabitha Ricci, because a win over Tabitha Ricci should not have been something that signaled to me a massive amount of improvement.
I do this every time. I'll come into fights and I'll give my initial thoughts, what I'm believing, okay, off rip, this is what I think would happen. And then I go through the week and I start listening to people's opinions of what they think is going to happen. And this is a prime example. I started the week and I don't even know if I made it to Monday night where I even said, that Virna is just that. She's just that girl right now. She's gonna manhandle Jan. She's gonna sub her, is what I thought, honestly. But 30-27 is just as good, if not anything. But man, did this performance, did it just prove everything that I've always said? It's like, when I know, I know. And I've never and Jan is somebody that I like Jan. She's a very beautiful young lady. She's very good at striking. She can knock bitches down, and I like that about her. But when it comes to somebody who can grab her and hold her down, and not even efficiently grab her, 3 for 11 on takedowns, she was, according to the book, she was stuffing a good amount. But 10 minutes of control time off of 3 takedowns, 3 sub attempts. Gee, excuse me. She was actually getting out of a lot of sub attempts. I think that was better on her part, that she was able to get out of them instead of just getting choked out and saved by the bell like against Weili. But Virna, we should have known better. I think at the end of the week, I also started to think like maybe Weili's just levels above the division. Maybe that's the case, and maybe Jan is going to stuff Virna, and she's not going to be able to get her game off. But no, Virna, she's it. Like I've believed it so much. She's so good.
Yeah, I mean, stick to your guns is the is the conventional wisdom, I suppose. Don't let people sway your opinions if you have strong opinions anyway. But yeah, I mean, Jan did okay when it was on the feet, but Virna is just too nice on the ground. She's too nice. I mean, she really is that when it comes to this grappling shit, man. I mean, she is about her game, and it has, yet another fighter that, if you watch the progression, they were talking about it a little on commentary. I think that it is absolutely true. She's just really leveled up over the years. I mean, like talk about a fighter who has figured out the holes in the game and shored up the holes. I mean, like that, it's one of the most admirable qualities that you can have in a fighter, in my opinion, is someone who recognizes where they need to improve and then actually does the work to improve there. And I think that she has done that. Now, I mean, if it comes to a situation where somebody's going to force her to stay on the feet, then maybe the fight becomes a different story. Jan was not that person, unfortunately. And I think that what killed me the most when it comes to that specifically is that the one time that Jan got back up off the ground in the second round, she chooses to go back to the ground, right back into Virna's guard.
Mm-hmm.
How many times do I have to yell about fighters saying, like, stand them up, stand them up? It just step back and say, get up. That's what you do. Like, why are you engaging in something where you're having no success whatsoever? So fight IQ issue on that one, on top of basically every round, all 3 rounds, Virna nearly got the submission right before the horn.
Mm-hmm.
It was just a smother fest for Jan Jandiroba.
So. I agree. I think this was a great performance from Virna. She knocked off the person who was in theory going to be hanging around the top for a little bit. She might still be. Mm-hmm. But it's at least going to be 3 or 4. So Virna definitely next in line for the belt after they do the Shevchenko matchup, if that's what they're going to do.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that a title
maybe
shot
vacant belt.
Yeah, it could be. I guess we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening, right? I mean, if they're going to do the super fight you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, if I don't know why Weili would vacate, but like Ilya just did. Maybe people are on the trend.
Perhaps, I don't know. Well, I mean, I don't know how that always works. I guess sometimes they'll make them vacate. Sometimes they'll have them retain the belt if they do go up to a different weight to fight. But we'll see what the organization wants to do about that. Either way, I do agree that yeah, I mean, Virna is now number 1 ranked. Based on this fight. I was kind of surprised that Jan was still at that position to begin with. But she was
it's a dead division, really.
I mean, you're not wrong. Either way, though, I maybe Virna can be the one to reinvigorate it a little bit, because she is about her shit and deserving of that spot.
And she is very scary. And to say that somebody, when a lot of people have when you get to the championship status, you got to carry yourself like a champion, and you got to have the look of a champion. For some reason, I think Virna has that look. Like, for a fighter, she would be somebody you look at and be like, that's the women's champion right there. Like, that definitely looks like the women's mixed martial artist champion. She looks like she punches people and chokes them out. Yes.
Fair. If you want some more analysis on Virna's looks, you can watch the watch-alongs where the Vitz King has a lot to say about that. So I'm not going to repeat that on this show, but you can go back and watch the VODs.
Hell yeah, I would like to.
All right. Well, anything else on this one?
No, I think we're good.
All right. Let's move on to Dan Ige versus Sean Woodson, the feel-good moment of this card to me.
50K, baby.
Yes, sir. How about it, man? I mean, Woodson was I give him a little bit of credit on the feet because he was out there mixing up the hand motions a whole hell of a lot. I guess that's just something that he sort of does naturally. It looked like he was conducting the orchestra while he was out there. You know, he's got his thing going all over the place. Looks like he was raving a little bit there. But
his glow sticks.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you could put some glow sticks in the hands. That would have been entertaining. Yeah, exactly. But Woodson did a decent job early with the range, but I would say not enough kicks. I mean, use those long legs, bro. Like, he had a couple of them, but like, for as tall as he is, you'd think that he would be spamming kicks. I mean, kicks to the body, kicks to the legs. Like, there's so many options that you have. You like, kicks are great for that reason. I mean, you know, when it comes to hand strikes, you've got the body or the head, but with kicks, you've got all three. You know, you can kick to the legs, you can kick to the body or to the head. So I would really like to see him mixing more of those in there. I thought you had said on the previous show, I seem to remember you saying that he had been mixing more in. So I was kind of conscious of that watching the fight, and I was like, it doesn't seem like he's really doing enough of that to me anyway.
Yeah, I think I agree. Wasn't mixing it in as much as he should have in this matchup. The last matchup, he was just then starting to mix in the kicks. So this is just a little development past that. It's not like he's spamming them yet, you know?
Right. I
would also like to say Sean Woodson was winning the fight up until the third round. I don't know if you agree or disagree.
I thought that Ige started. I think that round two was maybe it was close. I probably would side with Woodson up like for that second round, but I do think that Ige was starting to like figure out the distance a little bit more. You know, he was closing the distance a little bit better. This was a close fight through 2 rounds. I do have that in the notes. It wasn't exactly like a super explosive fight also, which I think favored Woodson because he was able to get the rangier shots off more often before Ige started to turn it up in the third.
I asked that question because on the scorecards, they had Ige up both rounds. So
yeah, no, I don't necessarily agree with that.
Yeah. Well, okay. So going into the fight, obviously this was a great scrap. You know, it was a little slow, but they were trying to figure each other out. Woodson has to use his striking at a range because it's for a heavyweight boxer at a time. He still kept the striking speed of a like a bigger box. Like he's kind of sluggish because his arms are really long. So when he throws these hooks, like they're really looping around, you know. And Ige, when he gets on the inside, he can definitely do some damage. He just wasn't able to find it up until the end of the, you know, the end of the third or whatever it was, or beginning of the third, whatever. And this is unfortunately the fight where we were supposed to find out if Sean Woodson is about it. Like when he gets knocked down, is he going to get back up? And the ref really robbed us of that opportunity, I think.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess that is a narrative in this fight is that it was an early stoppage. Woodson did get wobbled early. He took some hammer fists to the side of the head. I mean, in the moment, it didn't seem like as bad of a stoppage as it was when I rewatched it. But upon the rewatch, yeah, I mean, it definitely was early. I mean, he was literally in the process of getting back up to his feet when it was stopped. Yeah, Andrew Glenn was the referee of this one. Yeah, bad show on that one, Mr. Glenn. And yeah, and that was where the hand motion came into play, which was him, you know, kind of. It was him doing the hammer fist motion, but it kind of more seemed like that was his response to Woodson protesting. Just,
yeah,
well, this, but
yeah, right. Go fuck yourself.
Exactly.
No, that is pretty funny, but yeah, it is actually super weird when you talk about the rewatch. Okay, he gets wobbled. He goes chicken dance for a second. He goes flying across the cage. He's blocking, and then he shoots this slow ass takedown, which is really funny because you know how much ground he has to cover to get down. Like he's so fucking tall. So like for him to kneel, it was so funny to get down to Dan Ige's level. And then the hammer strikes obviously came, but like you said, he was standing up. Like I don't know what the ref was seeing. Did he think he was like going limp? Like, I have no idea, because he was just standing straight up and then protesting. And this is why Danny Gay is somebody that you can never really count out. It's because something like this apparently can just fucking happen. And if he's not going to flatline you, the ref is going to make sure that it goes on fucking Danny Gay's record. I've talked about this dude plenty of times. I'll make sure to bring up that he's the only dude that can beat Sean Woodson, but I will bring up that it was an early stoppage. I will not believe that it was, the correct call.
Yeah, no, I agree with that entirely. It was not the correct call. It is unfortunate. It's kind of hard to say now, because as I have said a couple of times about Sean Woodson, he's always been somebody that to me just did not pass the eye test. And I had asked you, I'm like, I think I literally at one point on the show was like, Chase, tell me what it is about Sean Woodson that I'm not seeing over here. I think that this performance maybe elevated it a little bit, but I would say that even if he was taking it through 2 rounds, it should have been more definitive through those 2 rounds. And then it would have been like completely, this would have been like a robbery type deal, when it comes to the poor officiating, because it's like, man, he was kicking Danny Gay's ass up through those 2 rounds. And then the ref just stopped it. Like, what the fuck? But it's like, it was kind of a sleepy fight through those 2 rounds, and then the action just started to pick up. So that was an unfortunate like delay of the momentum, or like a stoppage of the momentum with the stoppage. But like it wasn't enough early on in the fight to really sway my opinion about him. I do feel bad for him though.
Mm-hmm. No, I feel you. Danny Gay, though, once again, I'll never be able to stop talking about you. You somehow get into the spotlight where I have to make my opinions known. So I really shout out to you, because you give me content, and you are somebody that I do not hate watching. So this is why you were the featured prelim, to be honest with you, bud.
Yeah, for sure. And also when it comes to Woodson, like, go out there and prove in the in the next fight. I mean, like, granted, he got a knockout in his previous fight before this one, so it's like he does need to just continue to do that. Like, I'm not saying that you need to like go out and do something you've never done before or anything like that, but with something like this, go out and show us that this was bullshit and that you are that guy. True. And this is fixable, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
No, he shouldn't feel bad about this. I mean, his style at heart is pitter patty strike until the bell. Like, that is exactly what it's going to be. The one-time knockout. It ain't going to happen again, in my opinion, because this is not going to take effect into the opponents that he's going to go against. I mean, nobody's going to really say like, man, he got whooped by Danny. It's not really that. Like, Sean Woodson can still fight an opponent that's higher than Danny Gay's level after this, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. I think that's kind of what I'm sort of trying to get at in a roundabout way, is that like, give Sean Woodson a good opponent and let him show that he is above this.
Yeah. Like I said at the beginning, I think they robbed us of the opportunity to see if Sean Woodson is going to be a fighter's fighter kind of deal.
For sure. So hopefully next fight we'll get him back on track.
100%.
All right.
This one's so funny. I can't fucking wait, dude.
Yeah, well, we'll get into just 1 second. I did want to note that, as always, of course, when they are in Miami generally, this was the time coming into main card that our president, Donald Trump, and his entire cabinet showed up for this event. Would have been a good time for Nicolas Cage to steal the Declaration of Independence with the amount of politicians that were in the building for this one. Good Lord. I mean, it was him, Elon, fucking the FBI director, Ted Cruz, fucking Marco Rubio, Tulsi Gabbard. I mean, like, who's running the government if everybody is at the UFC? But I digress. Just had to throw that in there because it was funny.
So when they walked out, just because you brought it up, when they walked out, I had my binoculars on. I said, "Where's Kid Rock? Where's he at? Where's he at?" No Kid Rock today, but he did walk out to Kid Rock.
Exactly. The song was playing. So Kid Rock representation in full effect, regardless of him being there in person.
Hell yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, just a funny note. But going into this main card, this is Dominic Reyes versus Nikita Krylov. A lot of people were skeptical about this being on the main card to begin with, but Dominic Reyes proven that he is a main card fighter.
That's not the fucking problem, dude. The people, the main problem is people were actually believing in this dude Krylov. And I want to actually say that I'm going to give you guys credit. And I know you don't want to admit it because you want to act like you're you're fucking some long time UFC fucking mogul. Anyway, if you believe in your heart that 2 years ago you watched this Nikita Krylov dude and you said he's going to be great. And then 2 years today you said he is going to beat Dominic Reyes, because what I saw 2 years ago is muy caliente, chef's kiss, whatever you want to say. I don't buy it. Everybody came in here. They said, this dude's been on for 2 years. Look at Dom Reyes, though. He just got flatlined by fucking blah, 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 blah. He, such whatever you want to say. Nobody actually knew what this dude Krylov was gonna fight like, because I can tell you why. The first fucking sequence, and listen, I felt like a fucking idiot for buying into this one, because the first sequence, he throws a 1-2, overextends. I said he's gonna get knocked out. He can't even properly plant his feet when he throws the strikes. He's overextending on everything. He's reaching too much, and what happens? He reaches and gets fucking flatlined, head dribbled off the fucking canvas. Like, it pisses me off so much that people come in here and talk about these dudes that they don't fucking know how they fight. Like, if all you would need to know is he can't properly throw a 1-2 without giving his chin to his fucking opponent. That's the only thing you need to know about Krylov going forward. And that's for any other person who's watching any other fighter. It's like, once you see something so simple, so easy that they just can't fucking master at 30-10, it's not fucking happening against dude who at one time, and I'll make this point. This is a dude who at a time was the second best light heavyweight in the world, arguably won the belt to some. He's only 15-4. He's got a long career ahead of him. On paper, it looks like he's got a lot more to go. He's not too fucking old. He's not off the craziest fucking injuries in his life. I think there was some blood clot stuff going on there. That is pretty serious, but I don't want to, he's coming in here and he has the potential to be number 2. That's what his ceiling was. And you're going to tell me this Nikita Krylov dude is going to step off the fucking couch and just come destroy him. 93% finish rate is what these dudes want to fucking talk about. I can't believe it, how easy it was for him.
Well, see, but this is the thing, though. I mean, I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying, because I do understand like the perspective now after the fight has taken place. But I think that the story going into it was more so on the Reyes side as to, is he actually back to being that guy? Because you don't go from the position that he was in to the massive backslide that he had. And then it's very rare that you come back and you're that guy again. So that, I think, is what a lot of people were putting stock into. And a win over Dustin Jacoby doesn't necessarily signal that,
50% of what Dominic Reyes was beats this dude. If people genuinely believed Dominic Reyes is in the fucking dumps after 2 back-to-back knockouts that he just got, it wasn't a knockout on Anthony Smith, but it was a TKO, whatever you want to say. I don't care what the circumstances. He beat him into a pulp. He beat him until he wanted to get punched. And then you come in here and you swear that Dominic Reyes potentially is going to be on the downward slope. If you think that he's on the downward slope and he's losing this matchup before the fight, you must believe Dominic Reyes is 25 to 10% of what he used to be. If you think he's 40 to 50, if you think he's any sliver of what he was, all Dominic Reyes, he literally knows how to throw a straight right down the pipe. And what happens? Nikita Krylov throws a 1-2 overreach, just straight right down the pipe, knocks him out. Like, it's ridiculous how easy it was. I've seen Dominic Reyes. I don't even know this dude's career.
Well, I'm sorry. I wanted to just bring this up because I think that's a good point. No, I know. I got you. And we're hearing you, brother. We're hearing all of what you're saying here. But I did want to bring this up because Big Onk making a good point here, that people had the mindset that Krylov subbed Ryan Spann and then Spann knocked out Dominic Reyes. So, a little MMA math, I think, was going on for a lot of people. But, boots on the ground is what you got to look at. And you're absolutely right. I think that, and Reyes is now proving time and time again that he is that guy again. So I think that that's really what you really should take away from this, is that, Krylov fighting with his hands low and reaching very far, like you said, getting countered easily, got caught early with the right. I think that everything is making sense. So yeah, I mean, bro, these are the things that it's like when it comes to how you're looking at the sport. Like, a lot of people want to do this like deep level analysis where they're going into like, the advanced stat sheet and picking out, all of these little details and trying to run the history back and all this kind of stuff. Like, trace it back to like 5, 10, 20 fights ago or whatever. Like, look at the here and the now sometimes. And that's, I think, what we're seeing exactly in this fight is that Reyes really is where he was, if not better. That's what he was saying. I'm not back, I'm better. So I think that he's proving that pretty distinctly now. And yeah, Krylov, I mean, probably would have been better for him if he had shot, if he had tried to get it to the ground early, then maybe this could have been a little bit different. But the fight was what it was. And, Krylov reaching for those shots, leaving his chin wide open for the checking. Reyes catches him clean with a really nice close range counter left. That's all you need.
Yeah, it was the McGregor special. He did him just like Conor did Aldo in 13 seconds. So.
Yeah. And I did think that it was pretty funny. They were talking about Krylov's physique. Did Joe Rogan really accuse Krylov of juicing live on the national broadcast? I don't know if you caught that. But,
I didn't hear that specifically, but I'm glad you brought it up because that's another thing on Twitter. People wanted to talk about like, 2 years away from the game and he looks like this. He's definitely fucking winning. It's like he fucking sucks, bro. Oh my fucking God.
Well, we know Chase's opinion about Nikita Krylov at this point.
It's not even just him. It's time and time again. It's people who fit the archetype of people who don't even fucking know how they fight. They will run to the edge of the earth to tell you that they are going to win a fight, and then when the bell rings, they fight like the biggest jackass ever. Like, it's not even people that know how to fight that lose a close fight. Like we talk about later, I'll bring it up. I picked a fighter, and it was. The fight was fucking close. I can't fucking be mad that it didn't go his way, at the end of the day. But like, if you come out here and you get fucking smoked, like literally head dropping to the mat, you are unconscious before you hit the mat. Like, it just makes me wonder if you actually watched this person before, or if you genuinely don't know what you watched at the time. I don't know. It's hard to say.
Yeah, well, that is why I remove myself from those types of opinions.
Yeah, I hear that.
So anyway, though, I mean, a nice win for Dominic Reyes. 3-fight win streak, 3 knockouts now. Hopefully he gets something big coming up. If he really is back with a vengeance, then the time is now. Give this guy, a high-level name. I mean, I was surprised that Nikita Krylov was even ranked still. That was pretty crazy.
You told me, are you surprised that he's ranked? I saw his head get dribbled off the mat, and I said, this dude is in the fucking promotion? Like,
all right, we got to move away from this fight because Chase is just going to continue on being very angry if we don't. So,
let's actually make a point. He was able to represent Russia in this fight. Nikita Krylov. He's been representing some other nation for the longest.
Oh well, yeah, he's actually Ukrainian, but he is of the side that believes that Ukraine, like he takes the Russian side in that conflict.
Isn't that interesting? I mean, isn't that interesting? I mean, there's always different perspectives in life.
Very much so, and that's a very deep-rooted socio-political element of that region, of course. So, it's beyond my scope of understanding to have a definitive opinion about that. But if he wants to rep Russia, then congratulations to him. But I don't think that Russia really appreciated that representation.
Well, all right.
All right. Before we move on to the next fight, I do have to make note that Amanda Nunes was inducted into the Hall of Fame. Do you have an opinion about that, Chase?
I mean, I know that for any sports, they take so long for people to get inducted into the Hall of Fame. Like, I actually find it weird that they don't induct people into the Hall of Fame, like, right when it happens. Like, not right when it happens, but, like, something monumental. Like, bro, Amanda Nunes gets 2 belts. Okay, Hall of Fame right there. Like, you need to go on the mic and be like, you are inducted into the Hall of Fame now. You've done it. Like, you've done everything we've needed, kind of deal.
Well, yeah, I think that because they do the Hall of Fame like on a yearly basis. So, it just was like, I guess they probably had people that needed to get inducted earlier or whatever.
I think point still stands. I mean, for somebody like Amanda Nunes, just now, I mean, I know it's still, she's only been retired for however long, whatever you want to say, but like, dude, I mean, are we surprised? Like, no, like it was a cool video. Yeah, it was more for her than for us. I feel like everybody at home is just like, why are you? I mean, I knew that. I knew she was getting inducted to the Hall of Fame. I mean, I knew that. Yeah, she
Yeah.
is. She is the Hall of Fame woman. Like,
Right. I mean, that was my note, is that the Hall of Fame was built for Amanda Nunes. So
yeah.
this is, this is not a surprise to anyone. I think like what you're saying basically stands. I think a lot of people were surprised that she wasn't already in the Hall of Fame.
I think it's really funny too, is like they got this whole package built up for her. Obviously they had to make it beforehand, but then just 2 days ago, a reporter asked if she's gonna come back, blah 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 blah. And she's sitting in the crowd and she's doing like yes, yes, like yes, I'm
Oh,
gonna
she's
come
been
back.
saying that she's coming back forever. So I'm
Yeah,
not at all surprised by that. I don't even really know why she full on retired anyway. I mean, you could have just,
Juliana Pena.
yeah, well, I mean, she came back and
She
avenged
don't want
that
the
though.
rematch, buddy.
she,
Anyway,
she, she don't want the rematch. Okay.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, she wanted to take some time off to raise her child, I'm sure, or whatever. But whatever. I mean, either which way, I think that obviously there it goes without saying that Amanda Nunes is the Hall of Famer. So I thought it was very funny that John Anik said that Amanda beat Felicia Spencer 50-40. Damn, John, that is cold blooded. But I thought anytime I hear Felicia Spencer's name, I call it Felicia Spencer syndrome when you're a really tough punching bag. So proved my point right there.
Yeah.
Amanda Nunes, Hall of Famer. Nothing more to be said. Congratulations on finally having that recognition.
Hell yeah.
All right. Well, moving
As
on
if
to
as if anybody thought she was gonna die before they inducted her to the Hall of Fame or anything.
yeah, no,
Like,
or maybe that she would already be back in the promotion by the time that she got inducted.
right. They had to quickly get that one in there. Like, all right, come on, guys. Get the
Yeah,
video.
yeah. So we'll see what happens when she comes back. But of course, Kayla Harrison and Juliana Pena has been announced. So I'm sure she'll be keeping a close eye on that fight and who wins that.
Hell yeah.
Well, moving on to one of the most talked about fights going into this card, Bryce Mitchell versus John Silva. I think that this played out somewhat how I expected, but the finish I don't think anybody could have expected. So why don't you start this thing off for us?
Playing out how we expected is probably not the way that I would say it, but it played out probably as best as it could for Bryce Mitchell in hindsight. I was getting a little wrapped up in the press conference. I thought, maybe he is bringing it. Like maybe he is going to have some extra oomph. I was wrong. Bryce Mitchell has looked the exact same as he does in every other fight. Striking is very sloppy. Strength is there when he can get the grappling, but in this case, he was not able to do anything with it. The striking looked better this time because he mixed in a lot of side kicks early and he was keeping his range because he obviously didn't want to get hit by John Silva. But I think what was crucial to note is I believe it was at the beginning of the second, John caught Bryce Mitchell very clean. And it kind of, Bryce, obviously took note to it. But then he got very weary of the strikes from John Silva. Like, oh, I shouldn't get hit anymore. But in my opinion, he ate that shit. I mean, you just took a clean shot from John Silva. You shouldn't lose confidence at that point. Like that's when he should have stepped into the fire a little more. But he got very passive after that. He was not setting up with the side kicks. He was letting John Silva do his game, doing the hand motions, having fun, looking away from the whole fight at a time. I'm not surprised once John Silva gets into that mode. I'm not surprised at the ending that happened. It was a very crazy submission. One of my favorites. Everybody says it's their favorite, but like, let's be real. Not everybody loves the ninja choke as much as others, but it is a very slick choke. And I've always thought like it looks so easy when done right. Why don't people learn it more? Because once you threaten it in a very nice way, the single leg is gone. And then you're back to the feet. John Silva has mastered the ability to get out of single legs and threaten with the uppercut on the exit, which is very nice. Bryce Mitchell did a very good job defending it. He also, everybody wants to be Mauricio Hoofy now that we saw the highlight. John Silva threw in his own spinning back kick, caught Bryce Mitchell with the heel too. Bryce Mitchell ate that shit again. I just wish he wouldn't have lost confidence in his striking. I know it's not there technically because he's not quick enough to pop combinations and get in and out, but he does have instincts when it comes to dodging, I think, is what I see from Bryce Mitchell. Like, he does a very good job of instinctually knowing what the next move is going to be. And I think that's, I don't know, Bryce Mitchell, it wasn't the worst performance, but at the end of the day, I think is probably the best that we could have imagined it happened.
Well, when we talked about this fight last week, I put a clip out, and it was us discussing Bryce's mentality coming into this fight. And we had said, I'd asked, what do you think is, how much is it playing into his navigation of this fight? And I would say that he was mentally defeated entering this fight, which I think it played a lot more of a part than we were initially thinking that it would. Because I was in agreement with you. I'd asked, what do we think is how much is it weighing on him? And you'd said, oh, you got to put that out of your mind. You can't be having that in your head and all this kind of stuff. And I agreed. I was like, yeah, that's definitely what you should do. And generally, when the conversation is not as extreme as it was with Bryce Mitchell, most fighters can do that. I think in this instance, Bryce, I think that he was mentally flustered. I definitely think that it played a factor here. I think he wanted this win way too badly for a number of reasons. I think that it was in part because of the conversation, maybe not the hugest part, but I think it was more so the attitude that Silva brings to the table. I think that the whole jokey and clowning the guy and the barking and everything that comes with Jean Silva, I think it really played a number on Bryce's mental state. And I think that it showed in this fight because, he wouldn't touch gloves. I mean, he was in his own head is what I was seeing early on in this fight. And then you mix in the strikes that landed, that only serves to exacerbate the situation. And then, of course, all the showboaty kind of elements of Silva looking away and smiling at him and then telling him to calm down mid-fight, after he takes a shot and all this kind of stuff. It's just, I think that it all snowballed on Bryce's side into something that territory he didn't want to get into, but unfortunately found himself in. The kicks were there for Bryce early, but Silva he's so locked in when he's in there. He's smiling, he's pointing to Bryce's corner, he's talking to him. I catch flex. I mean, the styles are different, but I think the point is solid that I catch little flex of another Silva, Anderson Silva, in some of the way that he navigates his fights, where he's out there effortlessly taunting, showboating. He's got a combination of taunting / lethalness that, I mean, again, the styles are completely different, but I think that there's something to the concept that they move somewhat similarly in that regard.
Yeah, I think this one, gosh, John Silva is just another one of those dudes. Same with all the other fighting nerds that's just on their way up and just nothing seems to be able to break them right now. And Bryce Mitchell, to the point of him being, shook or whatever, I actually want to bring up a good point. He put out a video after the loss, and these are the type of videos that I wish we got more. And I think it added a little clarity. And I don't think Bryce, maybe he was at a time struggling really bad coming into this fight. But even after the fight, he posted the video, said guys, I got all my teeth and no broken bones. Can't really be too mad. We didn't get the win, but I did try as hard as I really thought I could. And you can't really blame a guy. If he genuinely believes he went out there and tried his best, shout out to him for that. And the part at the beginning, no broken bones, no teeth missing. I can't really fault you for not wanting to have that happen. You did as much as you could, and you didn't sustain injury that was going to hurt you for moving forward. I applaud you for staying safe against somebody who normally knocks people out. So,
sure. Well, I mean, and that I think is one of the big narratives coming out of this fight is that, as I had said, I think that this fight played out, to me at least, kind of as I expected it, but not the finish. If John Silva can submit a high-level elite grappler like Bryce Mitchell. Shout out to John Dong. He was in the chat a little bit earlier, and on the watch along, he had said, he was like, if Silva can do that to Bryce, what is your method of victory against John Silva? Like, how do you beat this guy? I mean, like, it's one of those situations where, I mean, it's going to take a very, very specific and standout talent to counter what he brings to the table, because it's unorthodox on top of lethal. And I mean, it's one of those combinations that I think is going to give everybody in the division a lot of problems. We might have a future champ on our hands here.
I wouldn't mind it. I mean, if out of all the fighting nerds in their divisions, I think this is probably the not the easiest path, but as of right now with his trajectory, I mean, he could be at the belt in 2 fights and Volk could be hurting my heart again, type of deal.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Silva, I was kind of surprised that he wasn't even able, that he didn't get the submission off of the first ghillie that he jumped, because that thing was tight. Good for Bryce to be able to get out of that, but that ninja choke was really slick, like you said, and so fast when he sunk that in. And you see the strength of Silva, not only in the striking, but the fact that Bryce tapped and then instantly went to sleep within seconds of that choke being slipped in. So, I mean, obviously the power in the arms is just next level as well. So John Silva is that guy, dude. He's him.
Yeah, I think I feel bad for switching up last moment, but a good presser, man, it always does good.
Yeah, and I can understand that line of thinking. I don't think that you're off base by where your head was at, but I didn't see it coming into this fight, and like I said, I do think that this played out kind of how I was expecting, aside from it being a submission finish. But now that submissions are in the equation, this guy is just something else.
Yeah, I agree.
Post-fight, jumping on the cage like Spider-Man, barking, and then plugging. What?
Aura farming.
Yeah, exactly. But then also plugging the merch. He's a really legit crazy person and a marketer.
Yeah, I agree. This was definitely an after performance.
Yeah, always something there. Vitz King was saying that he wants to get some Fighting Nerds glasses. We're gonna make that happen for him. So
nice. I would like some too, but it seems like a really cheap thing to do.
Yeah, really. You just make your own, right? Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, let's move on to the next fight here. Yair Rodriguez versus Patricio Pitbull. If I thought that the last fight came out the way that I expected it to, this one certainly did not. What did you think of Patricio Pitbull's debut in the UFC?
I don't think you should ask me that. Let me start with Yair. I will give Yair props. Now, will I say this is the opponent that I would have wished he did it against? No. But I do applaud the performance that he put on. The things that I saw in this fight made me see like, oh, this is what people originally thought a top talent could be. Like this guy right here. And he is, of course, but like, I mean, championship level that actually can keep the belt and do things with it. I see the flashes. He's very tall for the division. He's lightning quick with his striking. Kicks and punches are insanely quick. But he went up against a literal midget. This was crazy. Pitbull is very, very tiny, even for the featherweight division. And he comes out here and does himself no justice with this stupid tattoo on his back that says Pitbull. and you let a guy like Yair beat you. And because this is a dude that I'm going to continue talking about as somebody who's not going to be able to reach the highest level and sustain that. I don't believe he's even going to get back to the belt, but he wants to claim in the post-fight that he should get it. No way do I believe that's possible. You beat a dude from another promotion that was riding on a little hype. This wasn't very warranted because, as we see, I mean, he doesn't really do much. And I know Yair is one of those dudes that has the evasive maneuver technique, but he did throw a lot of powerful strikes and did bite down a couple different times. And it was impressive, in my opinion.
Not in mine. This fight sucked, and screw both these guys is what I had from this.
Did you watch Raposo twice?
I watched them all twice. Same criticism stands. Dean Thomas hit the nail on the head with the commentary. The slow start was really dumb for Pitbull. Yair won round 1 with 3 hand strikes and a few kicks, is what it felt like to me. I mean, it might have been a little bit more on the numbers. The numbers are a lot higher, whatever. It didn't feel that way. It was a slow first round. There was a little bit more urgency from Pitbull in the second round, landed a few decent shots, got Yair down, but Yair did a really great job. Here's something I can praise Yair for. He did a great job of immediately getting himself to the cage. He literally had to do like a 3-sweep hand motion to get himself from the center of the octagon all the way to the cage. So I give him a lot of credit for that. You would think that this world champion BJJ black belt could have cut that off better, Mr. Pitbull. But and I guess I'm a little bit overly harsh here, because I did think that Pitbull coming into the organization would do better than this, or at least put on a performance that would like show why he is where he is coming into the organization. But this was not it. Finally, in the third round, we get a little bit more action, but this was still a sleepy fight up until Pitbull landed a few shots that like connected decently, and then ended up getting dropped himself. Yair did some good work on top, doesn't get the finish. I just didn't like this fight, to be perfectly honest, and I thought it was a terrible like showcase of Pitbull coming into this huge stage, main card, pay-per-view, Miami, Florida. Like, this is like your time to shine. These are the big lights. We talk about the big show. This is the big show of the big show. And this is how you conduct yourself, man. This was just so bad. So, I mean, look, I'll give Yair some credit that he navigated this fight well, but I think that your original criticisms of Yair stand more so than how you're praising him now. I think that against a fighter who's not going to come out here and take round 1 off, Yair has a lot more adversity to face, and he doesn't do as well. So, yeah, I wasn't really very hot on this one.
I don't know. I think this one, it might have just been the matchmakers fucking up right here. They might have thought this was a good matchup, because these are two dudes with a decent following. But no, I think a tall striker, tall, rangy, evasive striker versus the short guy who can't get inside range. I mean, it just didn't, the matchmaking kind of flopped here, I think. This could have been the opening fight, and we probably would have cared. We probably would have forgot after Dom knocked somebody else out,
Yeah. And really, I mean, honestly, now at this point, I'm starting to evolve my thinking, because I have always been a dude who's been a champion of these guys coming in from other organizations saying, look what they have done. Look what they have accomplished outside of the UFC. How can you discount all of that work? At this point, I'm starting to think that maybe that's not the right way to think in general. Maybe
so Aaron
Pico included, him, AJ McKee, AJ McKee. I mean, Patchy Mix, all these guys coming in. If they end up coming in, I'm more skeptical now. Michael Chandler, we'll talk about him in just a second here. I mean, look, what has he done? Basically, I mean, what, he's 1-6 now or something, 1-5 in his last 6. So, I mean, I'm just like, my point, I guess, is what I'm trying to land on with this is, show me what you can do inside of the UFC before I start giving you any backing based on anything outside of the UFC. Sure. I don't want to be that guy, because I always want to give these guys a fair shake. It's like, they couldn't have been fighting all cans outside of the UFC, right? It couldn't have been 100% cans across the board. This is a champion we're talking about here. Michael Chandler, a champion we're talking about here. Well, I'm seeing differently when they actually step into the UFC. So maybe the mindset just has to evolve with the times.
Yeah, I agree. So we got to be weary of these guys. I mean, RDR, I think, is different because he might be different, but we shouldn't be surprised.
Well, and there always can be exceptions to it, but it's looking like that's going to be what it is where it's an exception rather than the rule.
Yeah.
So, yeah, hopefully RDR can be the one that snaps me back into some thinking here. Now I'm worried about Dakota Ditcheva if she comes over. I mean, like,
I've always been worried. Melissa Mullins would butcher her.
Maybe that's a little bit of a stretch, but I don't know. I mean, well, who knows? Now it's it's definitely up for debate in my mind.
Yeah, I hear you.
All right. Anything else on that one? I just want to cut you off.
No, I mean, shout out Yair. I mean, I don't think you deserve a title shot after that. Diego Lopes is right around the corner to whoop you, I think.
All right. Well, there you go. And then now there's a narrative there, so maybe they do end up making that happen.
Yeah.
All right.
As much as I wouldn't like it.
Yeah, same. Well, we'll talk about the main event in a minute, but we got to talk first about the co-main here, and that's Michael Chandler versus Paddy Pimblett. Yo, Patty the Batty, how about it? I mean, I had said leading up to this fight, until Patty proves me differently, or until he proves me wrong in thinking that he's the real deal, I'm going with it, and not proven wrong just yet.
Michael Chandler is such a funny dude, bro. He'll stand and strike with Justin Gaethje and Dustin Poirier, but when Patty the meaty hook merchant Pimblett comes out there, he just shoots for his life. And it's crazy that that's how it happened, because like Patty is not some fierce threat on the feet. Like, he leaves his chin out there. And I'm just trying to give initial thoughts, because Chandler let me down, because I thought he'd at least get to the bell. Like, he's decent at being durable. But the fact you got finished by elbows, TKO, bloodied and battered, it actually started with a knee. Nasty knee to the face. Started that Chandler was on the retreat. Patty smelt the blood in the water, and obviously took advantage of it. It was a great finish from Patty, I'm not going to lie. And I think that was, Patty had a great finish. And I think that just shows, it's going on his resume, the different things that he's doing to people.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, one thing to note was that Patty looked massive compared to Mike. I mean, when we talk about how when he's out of camp, balloons up, puts on like 50 pounds or something like that. I cannot believe it's sustainable, and I think that it's going to end up hurting him if he continues the yo-yoing over time. But when he cuts down, man, I mean, like, the dude's physique is pretty on point, and like, just the size difference was very noticeable to me.
Mhm.
Also, one other thing that was noticeable outside of the fight itself was that the Miami crowd was loving Patty the Batty. A lot of English fans, I guess, coming over. That's not uncommon. We do have a lot of people from England in Florida, often vacationing or whatever. So I'm sure that there was a lot of English representation in the crowd. But just the backing of Patty was kind of surprising, being a dude from outside of the country, and Michael Chandler being, a national here. But anyway, that was just some outside of the fight stuff. But first round was kind of slow. A couple of decent feel out shots on both sides. Patty took the round, but it wasn't like decisive one way or another, just kind of getting their bearings. I was actually kind of nervous there that the over 2.5 was going to take once everything started to heat up. But yeah, finally I ended up hitting on over 2.5 rounds. I was very happy that came through based on what we would eventually get to in this fight. Mike gets the takedown, but Patty reverses position in the second. Does some nice work on the ground with ground and pound and getting the body triangle secured on the back. I thought Patty was looking pretty good in all of that regard. Going into round 3, 53 significant strikes for Patty, 9 for Michael Chandler. Yikes, indeed. Still not the most exciting fight through 2 rounds. Round 3 is where it really turned up. Patty lands that jump knee, and that is where the tides turn. Opens Mike up pretty nicely, and there is a great image. I got to get a screenshot of it at one point right before the finish, basically, where Patty is like hulking over Mike, and Mike just has this look of like utter panic on his face. It was definitely an iconic image, with how much he was wearing as far as color went. But yeah, I mean, Patty he took Chandler down, stayed patient, looking for the right avenue. The sub attempts didn't work, and the hammers and elbows did. So
I think what is
what
also,
now?
that's exactly what I was getting to now. Next is what also caps off a great performance, and this is the WWE side of me, is that when you get on the mic and you say something memorable and you have the emotion that matches it. When Patty said, "Are there any more questions?" it was almost as iconic as it could have been. If he would have not got asked another question after that, that would have been good, because then there was no more question. Come on, Joe, you got to know the fucking move. But
Yeah, no, I mean, honestly, I agree. I had in the notes too how I really liked how he conducted himself on the mic. I thought that he was appropriately bravadoed. You know what I
mm,
mean? Like, his level of impassioned gravitas was absolutely warranted. Called out Charles Oliveira. I thought that was a fine call out, definitely warranted now. And I really liked the term "you gang of mushrooms."
nice,
Thought
yeah.
that was pretty funny. I liked that. But yeah, no, dude, Patty really reinforced what I said coming into this fight. Until I see otherwise, I'm sticking with it. Now, I mean, but I had also said, and I actually did hear this, so I'm glad that I said this too. That you can chalk it up to Patty's just beating up the old guys. And I did hear that somebody had said that about Michael Chandler. Michael Chandler, another old guy Patty beating up on. Okay, well, now all of that is done. All of that can be out of the way. Now he's calling out Charles Oliveira. He's saying that he's a legend. He's saying that, Armin would be a fight that he would take too.
Charles is also old now, but
well, older, fine. But I mean, I think the perception is a little bit different with Oliveira. He's got like a legendary aura that people are sticking with, even though I've not always felt that it's the most appropriate, but that's a different story. Either way, the point is that you've got a number of guys who are above Patty to where he is now, all of which are high level competition that would make perfect sense for him to go out and do his thing against. This is his shot to really prove all of these naysayers wrong yet again, another time for that. And he's doing it consistently. So what now indeed?
Yeah. And it is crazy to think about when they showed it after the fight. Patty's on a 7-fight win streak. The next highest person in the division is 14 in Islam. So
yeah. So I mean, we'll see what they end up wanting to do. There's a whole lot brewing at the top of that division, and then of course with flyweight as well. So sure. I mean, excuse me, with featherweight. Featherweight. Yeah. So there, between the two of those, there's a lot of switching going on, people going back and forth in different directions there. So it's gonna be interesting how they shake all of those two divisions up. But Patty right there in the mix now, so I like it.
Oh yeah.
All right, close this thing out with the main event. Alexander Volkanovski versus Diego Lopes, a fight that was going to break your heart one way or another, I think, for a lot of people. Certainly us two, I think, is safe to say. And sad for Diego, but Alexander Volkanovski proven that he is still that dude.
Yeah, I think my heart was broken in the easiest way on this, because it would have hurt me to see Volk, have the rest of his career be ended, kind of deal. Whatever you want to say it. Diego definitely has a bright future ahead of him. Losing to Volk, going into it, in my opinion, I want to hear your opinion on this as well. Going into the 5th round, I mean, it was 2-2 on my books.
It's interesting you say that, because I had heard that as one way that it was being scored. I think it was hard for me. Like if you go back and watch the watch along, I was kind of I was torn, honestly, because Diego did get the knockdown in, I believe it was the 2nd round.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was like, well, do you score that round for him then based on the knockdown? But Volk was doing a lot of good work before that. I think that personally 3-1 was a little bit more accurate if you don't weigh the knockdown as heavily because of all of what happened elsewhere in the round. But 2-2 would have been fine to me as well. Like I like, it certainly wouldn't have been like, oh man, that's ridiculous that they gave him that round.
Yeah, so I think when it goes back to when you bet on people and you're just confident in what they can do, and they come out here and they go into the 5th round and it's all tied up, at that point you just can't even be mad at the outcome. Like they're literally doing everything that they could, in your opinion, to make it even.
Well, now, that's where I take, sorry, just wanted to jump in, because that's where I take some exception, because my big thing throughout this entire fight, pretty much up until like the end, in parts, Diego had his moments, flecks of greatness, I would say. And I did give him that 4th round, of course, but the entire fight, I was thinking, Diego, why don't you throw, buddy? His volume was just so lacking compared to the machine-like output of Volk. And when you pair the output plus the accuracy of Volk, man, that's something that has not gone away in the slightest. Volk knows how to land a shot. So that was the fatal flaw for Diego, is just not throwing enough.
I think I agree that he wasn't throwing enough. I also will say that he wasn't mixing up the striking enough that it was going to be a winning tactic.
Yeah.
But on the other end of that, I will say what is impressive is that he is the only person to go to decision with Volk besides Max and just primarily box with him. I mean, so I think it was a plus at the end of the day.
That's a fair point. And then also, I mean, like you have to put it in perspective that this is full camp, completely locked in Volk, and this was a vintage Volkanovski performance.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, the accuracy is, I'm harping on it a little bit, but it's just unparalleled. His movement is still so sharp. His instincts I mean, obviously he's a vet beyond, I mean, vet is an understatement at this point. He's beyond well honed, but this is how a champion performs.
Yeah.
And, and that's just the levels to this game. Like Diego can still be that. And I think that this is a great learning experience for him as to how you need to conduct yourself in a 5-round fight, because that was a big concern going into this, was how his gas tank was going to hold up. I think it did. I mean, we've seen him gas out before. I think he conserved well. And that's what I was saying on the watch along too. I was like, well, maybe he's holding back so that he has enough later in the fight to really unload. I think there might've been a little of that, but when you're going up against a guy like Volk, who just has it all plus the gas tank, this is what you get. So, vintage Volk, primetime Volk.
There was one moment in this. Well, there's two moments that I really like in this fight. The first one that I'll talk about is in the third round, I believe it is. And there's a GIF of it on Discord that you can find, and it's really, really cool. So it's the third round. There's, whatever time left, and that shows the live odds at the bottom, and it shows, minus 115 on each. So it's a coin flip. And then they both hit each other with this monster left hook, and they both go staggered. And it was one of the cooler moments, because it's like, wow, like that was really like that double knockout kind of feel moment, like with the odds even, like who really could win it. And then that moment happens, like, man, they really did have that shit right. Coin flip mine. Like, anyway, that was good.
Yeah. Well, and that's where the flex of greatness came in for Diego. Like in spurts, he was doing really well. Like when he got a sharp combo off, you could see the power. I mean, like the dude is powerful. There's no doubt about that. But it wasn't consistent enough. And I mean, like there was one moment where Lopes got dropped he dropped Volk in the second round, like we were talking about, but it didn't light the fire like it should have. And on commentary, Anik had said that the Lopes corner is begging for more aggression. And like, that was kind of how I was feeling throughout a lot of it. It's like, a little bit more, especially when you're seeing that you're having success. Again, I say this often too, where it's like, if you land 1 and 2, then 3, 4, and 5 can be right behind it if you give your hands the chance to land them. And I just think, Diego didn't give himself that chance sometimes.
What Diego doesn't have is, unfortunately, the boxing techniques that Ilya has, because he was able to cut Volk off from running around the cage, which is, unfortunately, we talk about a lot of people in their evasive maneuvers. Volk does train at City Kickboxing, so he does have what Israel Adesanya does best. I mean, he's basically the featherweight version of it, and he's just not as flashy. I'll say that. He's very technical when it comes down to it, though, and so it's a very hard matchup to win, because he's able to play the point system to the best of in the game right now. I mean, he almost took Islam to points in one kind of deal. This one right here was always going to be hard for Diego, but when you get into the 5th round and you watch him start yelling and putting his hands down and walking Volk down, and he's still not able to cut the corner off, it is a good look. I do like that moment, because, man, that's my guy right there. Diego's willing to just walk down, and if he's not going to hit me, I mean, I'll just keep walking forward. It was actually a very long time that he was walking with his hands down. And Volk was just, evading, doing his thing, staying in the rhythm, just coasting to the division, to the win. And I don't hate it, because Volk, again, coming off 2 straight knockouts, you got to win somehow. You can't come in here and get knocked out again. Like, nobody wants to see that. So the fact that this is how you won, I do applaud it.
And I also wanted to add on to the note, though, is that Diego kept calling Volk on, and then Volk would oblige. Like, I mean, it wasn't like because Diego like would take a shot and then be like, okay, let's come on, more. And Volk was like, all right, well, I'll give you more, but then Diego just ate those shots. You have to throw back if you're asking for the smoke. You know what I mean? Like, so because I have seen the criticism. Oh, Volk ran. I'm like, no, this is not. This is not running. This was a well-crafted get in, get out, hit and don't get hit. I mean, I think that this is a pretty textbook like way that Volk conducted himself, and it was effective. I don't think that there was any need for him to go in and be more reckless, because I think that that's really what people are often saying is like, oh, I want you to go in there and be reckless. And it's like, yeah, well, it's easy for you to say that on your fucking couch, guy. Volkanovski is the champion of the world. He's going in there to win the fight. He's not going in there to listen to you. He doesn't have you on an earpiece in his ear telling him how he should fight. he conducts himself the way that he does. He wins the fight, won it pretty convincingly, in my opinion. I felt bad for Diego, but I thought that this was absolutely appropriate. Nice to see for Volk to get back on top.
I heard it all week from a handful of people about Diego's cardio, and a lot of people really tried to die on that hill, but like he really he's had cardio issues because he has short notice bouts for his entire career. Like there's no reason to think that he should have issues if he takes a full camp. Okay, yes, it's a 5-round fight. Everybody's going to be a little gassed when they get their first one, but like there was no issue with Diego. If anything, he was fine. I thought this was a great measure of the gas tank from Diego, and maybe he didn't let it all out kind of deal. Like the 5th round, you should have been swinging for the fences, tired as hell kind of deal. You got to leave it all out there, and maybe that's a criticism he'll see going back. Is like, man, I could have done it kind of deal. But I think Diego shut a lot of people up, and I know he lost, but like, come on, like Diego Lopes is a fucking beast, man. Like,
oh yeah, no, I don't think that this performance drops his stock tremendously in any capacity, at least not with me. I agree with you completely. I mean, that the gas tank was something that was like, will it be their kind of a situation, because Volk has been in so many 5-round fights. It's going to be at some point where Volk's going to have more 5-rounders than he has 3-rounders. You know what I mean?
That's already a thing. I'm sure.
So it's like Volk is well equipped for a 5-round fight. This is Diego's first 5-rounder, so it's like, can he sustain? I think he did a fine job of sustaining. He just needed to be more consistent throughout all of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, Diego is still that guy. I don't think that this proved otherwise. Oh, this was not a fraud check, as people like to throw that term around. This is, Diego held his own against the champion of the world. He has nothing to be ashamed of.
Exactly.
And the last note that I did want to make here is I thought that it was something else that stood out to me, and it just shows you the levels when it comes to the type of fighter that Volk is. Volk is impressive even in the corner, because he's actively listening to his corner. He's asking questions of his coaches, and he's real-time strategizing when he's getting the information from them. Like, these are the adjustments that really like set people apart. Like, if you're able to because a lot of times fighters they're locked in, they're listening to their corner, but like their mind, a million things going through your head when
you'll go to the corner and say, "Did I win that one, coach?"
Right. I mean, it's like that, or like, it could be like a Sean Strickland where it's like they're sort of like half listening or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, is it actually getting through to them? You don't know, kind of thing. Like, their head could be in a different place. I mean, there's a lot that goes on in a person's mind when you're in the middle of a fist fight. But like Volkanovski is so keyed into what he's doing that it's like, it really is like a chess match to him. It's like, okay, well, if he did hit this and I have to do this and I'll come back and do this thing. And, it's like, okay, I have to adjust this, those kinds of things. You're making adjustments on the fly. Next level shit.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I agree. This was a great main event. I mean, pay-per-view. Shout out to Volkanovski, because if I'm correct, there was a time when he was headlining fight nights. Am I wrong?
I mean, maybe long time ago, but yeah, I mean, probably.
Dang. So shout out to him. I mean, the small guys are getting the main event spot on pay-per-view, and I appreciate Volkanovski for paving the way for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Are you talking about Diego headlining Apex or Fight Nights?
Volkanovski.
Oh yeah, back in the day. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, this is the progression of the sport. This is why you watch every Apex card and all that kind of stuff to see these guys get to where they're eventually going to be. So, shout out to Diego for getting to the top, at least in that regard. And he'll be back. He'll be back just fine.
100%.
So that is UFC 314, Volkanovski versus Lopes. After talking it through, Chase, final thoughts.
Final thoughts is there was one bad fight on this card. All the other ones were at least exciting, and the one that was bad was not the one you thought. I don't believe you really liked that fight. But either way,
I didn't say that I liked it. I just said that I didn't think it was as bad, and I thought that Raposo's performance wasn't as bad as you're making it out to be. But hey, different strokes for different folks.
Yeah, but this wasn't a bad card all around. I kind of like this pay-per-view. Sometimes I question it. Like I said at the beginning, you look towards the bottom and it's like, Nora Cornell, but it was fine. I enjoyed this.
Yeah, no, I liked it too. I thought it came through in a lot of ways. I think that there was some good stuff on the prelims, but the main card, which is what should be the shining moments of this event, I mean, especially for a pay-per-view, you're paying the money for it. I thought it delivered. So yeah, I liked it. I thought it was a good event.
Hell yeah.
All right. Well, we talked about the GFL last week because the GFL had gone down in flames. So I mean, we didn't want to go through the whole thing that we had already talked about, because we broke it down in detail when it came to what happened there. But I just wanted to briefly mention it for anybody who missed that stream.
Let me let you have your word. I'm going to run to the restroom.
Yeah, go for it. So basically what happened here is that the GFL was going to have their inaugural event. It was supposed to be a 2-night event. It had all of the fighters that you have heard were signed to the GFL. Now, of course, we know that the GFL had some shady dealings as far as if fighters were actually signed or not. So whether or not all of these fighters were actually signed, I would suspect that if they were having them on their inaugural event, that they were actually under contract. But just another thing to note in the GFL story, a lot of fighters had been announced as being part of the roster when they themselves were saying, hey, I've never heard of these guys, or, I'm not on the roster. I'm under contract to another promotion. So there was already some wonkiness as to the business dealings of the GFL. But they had this initial event. It was going to be a 2-day event. A lot of big names, at least, from previous years, stars of the past were represented on this card for these 2 days. And it was going to be their big coming out party in this sport to say, hey, we're here, we're doing this thing. Check us out and rock with us. And unceremoniously, the event has been canceled. The GFL came out, and Darren Owen, who is the main head honcho of the GFL, said that one of their major financial backers pulled out, did not meet their financial obligations. So the event is no more. Now, Darren Owens was saying that they might try to put the event on at a different location, perhaps a different time. But as of right now, the initial event is not going to happen. So that's basically all we wanted to say. For anybody who didn't catch our initial discussion of it, you can go back. If you could check out the VODs on the channel, youtube.com/@YamaShow for the VODs. You can see our full discussion on that. But since we have been covering the GFL a lot on this show, we felt it prudent to mention that.
Yeah, I think this was a good time for a bathroom break for me because I really don't have much more else to say on the GFL thing. Like when it canceled, it wasn't heartbreaking to me. It was more like, well, this was kind of expected. If it wasn't expected in the terms of like, man, we see a big promotion that just can't actually get off his feet, but it's expected when you think of all the levels they were trying to like get to. They were trying to reach every avenue with this one, and the fact that it didn't work out, it's not surprising, is my point.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, I had kind of alluded to it a little bit, and I have to be kind of careful how I talk about it, but I do have some basic inside information as to the previous business dealings of Darren Owen, and they're not great, is I guess what I'll say about that. So, it's not super surprising in that regard. I would have thought that they would have at least gotten their first event off in some capacity. So maybe there still is an opportunity for it to happen. But I always thought it was very ambitious for them to try to go in for a 2-day event to begin with. I mean, they're trying to put all of their eggs in that basket initially. And it was like, you're really coming out the gate swinging in a way that I think you might be overly ambitious with. Mm-hmm. So for one financial backer to pull out and the entire house of cards to fall, I maybe that part is a little surprising, but the fact that it fell apart in general is not surprising based on all of the other coverage that we've done of this fledgling organization.
Yep, 100%. Nothing surprising here.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's really all that we, wanted to talk about. Like I said, go back and watch our initial coverage of it if you want the full in-depth breakdown of everything. But since we talk about this promotion on last week's fights, we thought it prudent to mention it.
Hell yeah.
All right. So let's round this thing out. We're going to do a very brief rundown of the upcoming card because we are going into an off week. Finally, it feels like it's been forever since we've had a weekend off.
13 weeks.
Amazing. I mean, what a run we've had. So, nice time to reset, recharge the batteries and all that kind of stuff. But we are just going to take a quick look at this. And then, of course, on next Monday, we'll come back and do our full-on breakdown predictions and all of that. So just to run this thing down really quick, this is UFC Fight Night Machado Garry versus Prates here. This is taking place in Kansas City, Missouri. Main event is Ian Garry versus Carlos Prates, a fight that I think a lot of people are very excited for based on what was initially going to be the fight that ended up changing, and then this being what we ended up with. I think this is a pretty good one.
Yeah, and I won't go too much into why I think the outside factors of Ian Garry and being a super Chad and stuff like that are gonna matter. But I think he does have a style that is able to negate what Carlos Prates is able to offer, at least enough that it gets to the decision somehow. Maybe Carlos Prates is not going to be the one to get to decision. Maybe he does gas out. We haven't seen it yet, but we know Ian Garry. He's got the style that can, one, get to a 5-round decision, two, make it interesting in a lot of different styles, and three, he has grappling now. Carlos Prates, at the beginning of the Neil Magny fight, if you remember, Neil Magny grabbed him and just drug him to the ground. And then Carlos Prates was on top of him and they couldn't do anything. They were locked into a very sexual position for a very long time. Then Carlos Prates gets back to the feet, and then he's able to stuff the single legs, and he's able to hop around. And I don't know. Ian Garry is better than Neil Magny, and if the ground at least got to the ground once with Neil Magny, nothing happened, yeah, but Ian Garry might be able to get it there and make something more interesting. Plus, I know everybody's making it about the grappling for Ian Garry, but his striking is elite, guys. You have to remember this. He knows how to chew the leg up. So I think Ian Garry might get this.
Yeah, the one note that I have for this fight, and of course we'll go into all of these more in depth next week, but Carlos Prates is great in the clinch. He is a Muay Thai guy. So I think that if Ian Garry is thinking that he's going to have success at close range, Carlos Prates is going to have a lot more success with knees and elbows in close distance. So if it gets into clinch situations, I think Carlos Prates is going to have a lot of success. I think Ian Garry's probably going to want to keep on the outside. So we'll see if he ends up taking that strategy. I think that his kicks are going to be his best friend, Ian Garry. So if he can get some head kicks up there, that might be helpful for him. If it starts getting into a little bit more of a close range affair, then I think Prates has a lot of potential for some good success himself.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Moving on, co-main event for the swan song of Anthony Smith going up against the monster Xiangmin Yang. I love this fight. I don't know. You're making a face like you're not happy about Anthony Smith being in a co-main. I'm not upset about this. I think that this is fine. I want to see if Smith can actually come back and get a nice win to close out his career, because this is his last fight and he's going up against a killer in Xiangmin Yang. Yeah,
Mountain Tiger is going to take this one. I don't know how, but he should be able to get it done. I mean, I'm just tired of Anthony Smith at this point. He's not for the era that came up on UFC, because that's like the old heads, but he's like in the middle era where like this is the guy that you would root for in an era where you really didn't want to root for John Jones, I guess. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be fine if Smith ends up going out at this point. A lot of people had already thought that he should have retired. So this is like the logical conclusion. And Smith is somebody that I got a lot of I don't know. I have empathy for, I guess I could say. I mean, he's one of these dudes. He is delusional. I don't think that you can take that away from the equation, but at the same time, he did just lose somebody very close to him. The way that he fought in his last fight was really kind of sad to look at. Not like pathetic, but sad. Just I felt bad for him.
I made this point actually earlier. I thought about it. It's like when I realized that, Anthony Smith is actually fighting again. I said the people that work with him watched him tell Dominic Reyes to punch him in the face and then they continue to go sit next to him at the commentary booth like he doesn't need some help somewhere. Like, I don't know. That's just my opinion. Like, does nobody give a shit about this dude? They witnessed him. Like, I don't know, bro. It's just wild.
Well, I mean, look, it's one of those deals. This is what he does for a living. I mean, he had to go out there and fight. He still took the fight, even with, heavy personal life adversity going on. So I give him respect for that. He's one of those guys that just wanted to feel the pain, I guess, therapeutic perhaps to an extent. I don't know. It's one of those things that I can't really like fully speak on because I'm not in his shoes and only he can really like describe what all that is. But yeah, I mean, it's Zhang Minyang. This dude is really, really tough. But granted, I mean, he did take out Vitor Petrino, who everybody was really high on going into that fight. So perhaps Smith could get a nice win to finish out his career against a guy who has a lot of hype around him.
I don't know about that one. We'll see though. I'm excited to watch it.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll talk about it more in depth, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I like I said, I think my opinion about Anthony Smith is not the same as everyone else's. So, I just hope for a good fight for him.
Hell yeah!
All right, Giga Chikadze versus David Onama. I love this fight. I am very excited about this.
I mean, in my opinion, if you really want to get down to the nitty gritty, Giga probably beat Arnold in their last matchup. So he's not necessarily on a downward spiral for being 36 years old and off some injuries.
And he has a win after that too, right?
I don't think so.
Oh, I think didn't he have one more? Or was that his last? No, that was his last fight?
Yep, Arnold Allen.
Oh, okay. All right, my bad. I thought he had one in between there.
And so I think he'll probably come out here and have a decent striking masterclass because against Arnold, he looked very impressive. I remember thinking at the time I made a bad pick on Arnold because Giga actually is decent. So I don't know. I think he'll get this one done.
Yeah, I mean, David Onama in his last fight was a banger, but that was against a guy who came in on short notice, and we were talking about how impressive he looked for a short notice replacement fighter. So, I mean, I would think that experience should be the deciding factor here, but Onama is 13-2, so I think this one's pretty close. My conventional wisdom would have me leaning towards Giga, but Onama is really, really tough. So I think that this is a great matchup. I'm looking forward to this one a lot.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right. Michel Pereira coming back after his loss to Fluffy Hernandez, that mopping that he got going up against Abus Magomedov. What do you think about this?
I think in 3 rounds, Michelle is probably going to get this one done against Abus. I know we watched him gas out in the first round against Fluffy, and he threw it all at the wall. But Abus is the type of dude that one could get overwhelmed and finished early, but also is the type of dude that would grapple Michelle the second and third round, but not finish him with ground and pound. He'd just look for the sub the entire time, and he wouldn't probably get it on Michelle. And then Michel probably gets back to his feet and wins the rest of the round. Some way he gets 2 rounds, and Abus doesn't do enough in the grappling. But I think this is – I like Abus, and I actually had a really good call on him this last fight when he got the sub against Bruno Ferreira. But this one right here, I think Michel's going to go ahead and finish.
Do you think that he is going to pull off another backflip?
Yes, 100%.
Okay. All right. Well, there's your prediction. Yeah, I'll go with Michel on this one too. Abus has been kind of spotty to me always. Another guy that doesn't really pass the eye test 100% to me. So, he's also the dude that I always remember has got the oblique kick finish at the foot of Khalil Roundtree. So just something to note that there might still be some compromised ligaments there. But either way, yeah, I mean, Michel coming back and getting a nice win would be fine in this fight. I'm good with that.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, another fight that I really love on this card, Randy Brown versus Nicholas Dalby. This is a banger waiting to happen right here. Both fighters I like a lot.
Yeah, if I don't know, if Randy Brown was upset that Brian Battle wasn't taking the fight to him the way that he wanted to, I can assure you that Dalby is gonna bring some fucking heat. Dalby's a dude that is just gonna walk in there and throw some fucking hands, and he's gonna make it interesting. So I really want to take Dalby on this.
Yeah, it's tough for me to take Dalby on this one because of how well Randy Brown utilizes his length. He's one of those guys that is very effective at range, also close up as well. So, I mean, like, Randy Brown is just a really well-rounded fighter in general. Again, this is one that I'm on the fence about because I think both of them have really strong points on both sides. I'm tentatively going to go with Randy Brown on this one, but I would very much like to see Dalby get it.
Yeah, hear that.
Ikram Alaskarov coming back after a long layoff, going up against Andre Muniz. What are you thinking?
Dude, Andre Muniz is a dude that's been here since 2018. Holy shit. Like,
oh, yeah. Yeah, he's been around.
I thought this would have been a newer dude for Ikram, but it's probably just the level of dude that they need to get out the promotion now. Like, if you've been here since 2018, and I don't know, man. Ikram, hopefully you can have a comeback, man. I don't know, though.
I would think so. I mean, look, he got handled very quickly and easily by Robert Whitaker, and that to me doesn't scream something to be ashamed of. I think it was a very lofty goal for him to think that he was going to be able to be effective in that fight. And he got shot up a little bit too fast. They needed somebody for the card that was in the region. It made sense. All of the circumstances surrounding that fight made sense at the time. And the conclusion of that fight made sense as well. A fight like this, I think Ikram can do it.
Yeah, I hear you.
All right, going down onto the prelims. Matt Schnell versus Jimmy Flick. What are you making faces for? You're not a Jimmy Flick fan? Everybody loves Jimmy Flick.
This fight fucking sucks, dude. Matt Schnell, dude. He's the reason that we got Steve Erceg out here thinking that he's good. And Jimmy Flick, I couldn't tell you a good damn thing about him.
Well, he is decent on the ground. That's something that I can at least remember or recall, but so is Matt Schnell. So yeah, I just want to see a competitive fight out of this one. Basically, I'll do some more research to give you a little bit more of an accurate, in-depth discussion about it. But yeah, I mean, both guys are very spotty. That's the other thing to note. So I think it's a very even matchup. It's good matchmaking on both sides. So this one could go either way, but I'm leaning towards Matt Schnell on this one. But again, this is preliminary and also very much even and could go either way.
Yeah, this is the featured prelim, by the way. So
yeah. I don't know. I don't mind it. But let's see. Evan Elder versus Ahmad Hassanzada. I remember him off the Contender Series. Contender Series guy making his official debut here from Afghanistan. Evan Elder is coming off of a loss, I believe, in his last fight. I want to say, am I correct about that?
No.
Oh, my bad. Coming off a two fight win streak. Jesus, I was confusing him with Clay Carpenter. That's a mistake on my part. All right, well, Evan Elder on a 2-fight win streak, going up against Ahmad Hassanzada off the Contender Series. I remember his fight, but I don't remember all the details of his fight.
I'm just making sure I got this right. I don't remember the details either, but I believe both of these dudes, yes, have been finished by Nazim Sadikov. So interesting to note.
Yeah, and honestly, not a bad person to have the finish against. Sadikov is somebody who I think is highly underrated.
Yeah, I don't mind him right now after that question mark kick. That was nice.
Exactly. But I think that experience is going to be the winner here. Even if Hassanzada has 12 wins on his record, I think that Evan Elder being in the promotion and on a 2-fight win streak, I think he gets the job done here.
Yeah, maybe. I'm not too sure, honestly.
It's always a maybe, right? But that's at least what my gut is telling me anyway. Yeah. Malcolm Wellmaker, another Contender Series guy making his debut here, going up against Cameron Simon. Simon, of course, a training partner of Dricus du Plessis, and kind of one of those dudes that had a good amount of hype around him, being I think tacit hype, a little bit of a rub off hype from Dricus, but he had been stopped pretty definitively not too long ago, and Wellmaker looking good in his Contender Series fight. What are you thinking about this?
If Simon loses this, that means he's 0-3 since that wasn't his debut. I think he won his debut. I just want to double check before I say.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Sorry, he's had a lot of different fights. My bad. And then he got checked by Christian Rodriguez, and then got knocked out by Peyton Talbot. He needs to come back and win this one for sure. Malcolm Wellmaker, He looks familiar, but I don't remember the name too much, even though that's a very easy name to remember. But I'm going to take Wellmaker on this one, I think.
Well, like you said, Simon needs the win bad, so this is the time to do it against a guy making his debut, but this is also Wellmaker's chance to prove himself on the big stage. So I want to believe that Simon can get the job done. That could also be, promotional bias as far as people being in the promotion longer, but he has had a rocky run of it in the promotion, and you never like to see knockouts on the record early. So yeah, I mean, I'll tentatively go with Simon, but we'll talk about it a little bit more later on down the line.
I hear you.
All right, Jacqueline Amorim versus Polyana Viana. This should be a cakewalk for Jacqueline, I would think.
Yep, 9-1 with 9 finishes. I mean, can't really argue it.
I think that Polyana Viana's got to be on the chopping block at some point. I mean, with women,
it's Alex Pajeda's ex-girlfriend or some shit like that.
She is, yes, that is indeed who that is.
Yeah, get her out of here.
Yeah, look, pretty privilege. I think we'll probably keep her around for a little bit longer. She's an attractive girl and all that, but the losses, I mean, she's now over the halfway point when it comes to the losses, 13-7, not great, and she's just not great, period. And
yeah,
Amorim is pretty goddamn good.
I feel like, one of those weird things will happen, or this will be the one fight that Jacqueline Amorim can't finish and win or whatever. But if I'm wrong, 10-1, 10 finishes, whatever, I'm down for it.
I think it makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, this fight here, I'll save my full-on thoughts for next week, but I cannot believe that this fight exists in this universe. These are the two worst women fighters on the planet, in my opinion, going up against each other. This is a loser goes home fight if I've ever seen it. Please let this be the last fight for one of these women. Now,
go ahead. No, you go ahead.
All I was going to say is that both of them have problems making weight, so it'll be interesting to see if one of them actually fucking does make weight. But that was my last point there, so go ahead.
My only point is that Jocelyn Edwards is cake mommy, so she will be definitely looking good on this fucking card. When I see her show up and she's got them shorts on, I got you guys. Don't worry. I'll be sure to talk about it.
All right. I mean, fair assessment there, I suppose. But both of these women are just the bottom of the barrel as far as I'm concerned. Edwards has been skating by on being essentially a weight bully by missing weight in these fights that she's won. And in the fights that even in fights that she has missed weight, she has lost too. So I'm really not a fan of hers. And Chandler, it's amazing that she is still in the promotion at all. Like, the fact that she didn't get cut after that last performance, we had talked in depth about that one. I'll have to go back and listen to what we said about it to get the full perspective there. But either way, it is insane that this is a actual fight that is taking place to me.
Yep, I hear you.
All right, this is a much better fight. Damon Blackshear versus Alan. God damn it, Alan Tengele.
Yeah,
Alan Tengele.
This one should be decent. Damon Blackshear, shout out to him for staying active. He just fought 3 weeks ago, I think, maybe 4.
Yeah,
no, 3 would have been London. 4 would have been the week before, so I think it was.
So,
yeah, so shout out to him for hopping back in here against, somebody who's not really a big threat. Like, this is somebody who's been around the organization for a little bit. He, Damon Blackshear kind of has the trajectory of somebody who's being skyrocketed like a Patty, where he's fighting all these older guys that are past their time kind of deal. But Damon Blackshear doesn't have the name for that. So they just got him fighting all these dudes that have been in the UFC that you don't really remember. So,
well, I don't want to put my homie Cody Gibson in that camp, but
still a casual viewer, nobody's remembering Cody Gibson. Fair. Come on, you got to be in the know-it-all for him.
Yeah, I understand that aspect of it for sure. But yeah, Blackshear coming on a quick turnaround again. That bit him in the ass last time he tried it, but this is a bigger gap now. So hopefully the camp will be good for him.
4 weeks is a bigger gap than what it was last time.
Last was like, I think 2. Like, it was like back to back. Like, it was like legitimately back to back. It was very crazy that he even took that. So yeah, Blackshear, a dude who just really wants to stay active and good on him for it. I hope that it pays off for him because he has been looking good when he's on. We'll see. I think that I'm going with him, But yeah, Alan Tengele is one of those dudes who he's got power in his hands. So Black Shears Wrestling, which is obviously his bread and butter, is going to have to be on full display.
Hell yeah.
All right, and to start the card off, final fight here is Timmy Kwamba versus Roberto Romero. Romero is the guy that I was talking about who went up against David Onama, and they had a banger. So this could be a very bad fight for Timmy Kwamba.
Yeah, I'm not really too sold on Timmy, and I don't know too much about Romero. All I know is that picture, his hairline is god awful.
Yeah, the cut is not working for him in that pick for sure. But yeah, no, Romero is a dog, though. I mean, the way that he fought in that fight, if he comes out with even a tenth of the intensity, I think it's going to be a bad night for Kwamba. And Kwamba is somebody who, the name sticks out. So I remember the name, but I also remember the name losing.
Yeah, Romero's Mexican, so he's going to come out here with some fire. I like this. I like this a lot.
Yeah, I think it's a good way to start the card off. I think you're going to get a finish in this first fight.
Hell yeah.
There you go. So that's just a brief overview of UFC Fight Night, Machado Garry versus Prates. Of course, if you come back next Monday, we'll be breaking it down in a little bit more detail. And obviously, we'll be off this Saturday, so we'll see what content is looking like. We've been discussing a couple of things. We might have something going on Saturday, so keep your eyes open for a stream, perhaps. And either way, there is some new content out on the Yama channel. Myself and Chase making an appearance on the video there. We're talking about Netflix's show, The Cage. Chase and I are going to be reviewing the entire first season of that. So the episode 1 review is out now. Give that a view and a like if you enjoy it. And let us know what you think about that show. Chase, where can they find all your stuff?
They can find all my stuff on youtube.com/@CPSmalls. And it's a great time there when we do our watch alongs. And then on Twitter, you can find me hanging out. x.com/creativepartin, Partin.
There you go. I am at Yama Show on all platforms still to this day, trying to figure out Facebook. They have been dragging their feet trying to help your boy out. I might just end up going with a different username on there, but I don't want to. I want it to be Yama Show across the board. I like consistency, so we're working on that.
Yama Fight Show.
That could be. Well, who knows? We'll
I shouldn't say that on air, guys. Don't take it, please.
Yeah, really. Already gone. But we'll see what ends up happening there. But if you search Yelling About Mixed Martial Arts on Facebook, you can find it there as well. Before we close this thing out, Chase, just because chat has been asking for it, what is your goat milk percentage?
My goat milk percentage is 100%. I don't have anything else in my body but goat milk. Telling you that. Believe it.
Chad, indeed. Same here. I guess.
Anyway.
That's right. There you go. Goat Milk Brothers in full effect. Thank you, chat. Anyway, thanks for hanging out with us, everybody. Appreciate all you guys. We will be back next Monday to break down this card in a little bit more detail. Keep an eye on the channels. And until next time, have a great week. Fight on.
Game.